Welcome, everybody, to the Jim Masters Show, live entertainment, lifestyle, variety talk show series. Hope you guys are doing well. I have been sitting here in this host chair waiting for you since our episode yesterday. Do you really believe that? Now, if you were watching yesterday's episode when our guest was comedy legend, the extraordinary Rita Rudner. Yes, Rita Rudner was here yesterday. If you didn't see that episode, check it out. Archived right on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. If you did watch, you know that I was not wearing this outfit yesterday. So then you would know that maybe I wasn't sitting in this host chair for 24 hours. But we are here, and it's so good to have you and you and you and you, like we always say. This is our entertainment, lifestyle, variety talk show series, bringing back that lost art of conversation. We have thousands of folks who watch all the time, and we welcome every single one of you, whether you're watching this morning, noon, or night, watching this live, or eventually later in the archives from all around the world. We thank you very much for making us a part of your world, a part of your life, as you have become a part of ours, part of our lovely squad. Those who comment, those who follow us on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and send email notes and post and all. And those of you who are part of the lovely squad who are quiet, you just watch. Maybe sometimes you'll slip us a private note or something. Sometimes you see some of the visual names of our viewers, but there's a lot of people who watch just quietly, or they leave comments on our YouTube channel celebrating our series and celebrating what we're doing here, bringing back the lost art of conversation. We welcome you. The show originates from the New York area in the United States. Yeah, along the southern New England coast between beautiful New York and Boston in the USA. However, we've got viewers and fans that watch us from all across the United States and North America, Canada, South America, Australia, New Zealand, yeah, and Asia, Africa, Europe, of course, lots of fans in Europe and viewers and supporters of what we're doing here. We thank you very much for all of the love, the support, the love of tea, as we call it, and it really means the world. We have been creating content in such an extensive way. It is really extraordinary. We're at the time of this show, we're almost at the cusp of 900 episodes in just 2.5 years, which, if you know anything about how the episodes are on television or anything that's episodic, that's a lot of shows in a short window. Some of your favorite TV series have done 100 episodes in like years. So it's been terrific, and it continues to be. And the support grows, the viewership grows, the subscribers to our YouTube channel growing and growing. And we thank you so much. Keep spreading the word. Keep doing your part, subscribing, liking, commenting. That means the world to us, and that helps us continue what we're doing. Also, the support that you do with super thanks on the YouTube channel, a little heart icon. Click that. That supports us. Super chat, super emojis, super stickers during the live chat in the chat room. That helps us big time. It helps us to replace that light bulb when it burns out, or that one, or this or that, or the streaming expenses and all the stuff that we do here for all of you, and absolutely love it. Watching for the first time, good to have you with us. Jim Masters here. I do this professionally in the real world, on television, on radio, stage, and film. And then we created this as sort of like a outshoot from my professional workers who are really busy. Today was a busy day. I had 4 radio shows, and then we taped a show. Then I had a TV shoot, and now we're here live with all of you. Wow. And I love every single one of it, those things that I just, described there for you. I'm looking over here because I'm looking at all the comments that are pouring in, and we thank you. If you'd like to comment during the show while it's live, now remember, you can comment at any time, live or otherwise, on our YouTube channel itself underneath the episode. We really would welcome and encourage you to do that, and we thank you. If you'd like to comment right now, participate while the show is live. When the show's live, everybody has an opportunity to do that in our JMS Lovity chat room. It's an actual chat room that's available in the chat section on the YouTube channel, and it's exclusive for those who have subscribed, or maybe you're subscribing right now to our YouTube channel, which costs $0. It doesn't cost anything when you hit that red subscribe button on the Jim Masters TV YouTube channel and you subscribe. So it's a gift from us to you. You get to say hello to one another and to us. And sometimes we might even have a chance to sprinkle a comment or two on our screen during the show. Lots of comments here. So nice to see all the vim and vigor and the enthusiasm and the passion. And we thank you for that as well. Keep it coming. Spread the word. Welcome new people to join us here at Lovety Hall, as we call it, the Jim Masters Show live series. Speaking of that, we're welcoming a brand new guest who has been very kind to spread the word about his guest appearance on our show all day long, and sharing the links and everything to the episode. He is coming to us not from Los Angeles. He's actually on assignment on the road. He was just moments ago. Maybe we should have done this show 2 hours ago, because you know who he was with, if not that long ago? Eric Estrada, Morgan Fairchild, Jerry Reichel, some fantastic people, all of which we would love to welcome to our show. And there's a reason why he was with some of those fantastic fan favorites. I'm talking about Christopher M. Allport, or Chris Allport. He is a tremendous actor, tenor, voice artist, composer, director, producer. He kind of like me, he does 55 different things in the industry he loves so much. He's been doing it for a long time. He's worked with some of the greats, and he is very passionate about what he does. He absolutely loves what he does. But there's some other cool things. Now, you see that beautiful photo of him there, right? Very elegant, very regal, the beautiful, blue tie, powder blue tie, the vest, the piano. But do you know, now this is versatility, folks. This is versatility. He's also the voice of a lot of your favorites when it comes to voice characters and animated characters as well. We just want to show you the range. So we're showing you this photo to show you that, he's a wonderful performer as well, and tenor and all, but also is the voice of Casper. Yes. Isn't this kind of cool? Again, that's versatility. That's a real, professional. And some others as well. Yes. We're going to talk about this. Isn't this cool? Disney's Hocus Pocus, and a lot more. This is just the short list. But he's also a prolific producer, and he's got Allport Productions, where they do a lot of incredible productions. As I mentioned, he is also a wonderful performer himself. So kind of like me, he's a performer. He's somebody who does, he's talent, but he's also somebody who is behind the scenes, kind of like I am as well. He does both. And so that's why he's got a full understanding of the industry and of the business and what it's all about. And that's why he loves doing what he does. And we're so excited again to have him here. He also believes this, which I love. For the theater lovers, theater inspires. It really, really does. So he's coming to us from on location in Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, for those of you here in the United States. And we're really excited. Again, he's on the road. He's making magic. And there's a reason why, because there's a very special show that he's promoting, and a lot of cool new things that they're working on. So we're going to welcome him, and we appreciate him taking time out of the busy schedule to join us. And he's got a nice little setting, even though he's on location, he's got a nice little setting where he is. Join me in welcoming, again, extraordinary actor, tenor, voice artist, composer, producer, director extraordinaire, Chris Allport is joining us from Washington, D.C. Chris, welcome to the Jim Masters Show live. It's so great to have you with us.
Thank you, Jim. It's so great to be here in Lovety Hall.
Yes.
Wow. I mean, that was an introduction of all introductions. I'm deeply honored. And that photo with me sitting in front of the piano, it was
Nice. I love it.
very serious, and I love that photo. And some of my fans, they said, "Oh, but you look so serious in that. We'd like to see you laughing and smiling." And I thought, well, I have two sides to me. In fact, more than two sides. I'm a multi-dimensional person, and that's
Yes, you
one of
are.
the sides. So, and that piano was my great grandmother's piano. She
Oh,
studied
wow.
in the first graduating class of women from Oberlin Conservatory,
Oh,
double
wow.
major in journalism and piano performance. And then my great grandparents came out from Ohio to Los Angeles and sort of settled Hollywood. And that piano, my great grandfather accepted for attorney's fees in exchange for doing work during the Great Depression.
That's extraordinary. That's during the Depression, that's a bartering. It was huge. It's the way people got by and got through. Do you still have that piano?
I do. I think
Wow.
it's over 107 years old or something, and I learned to play on it, and my mom played on it, and I remember being a little baby, 6 months years old, lying underneath that grand piano, holding the
Wow.
rungs that support the pedals, and feeling
Yeah.
the vibrations of Rachmaninoff and Chopin
Mm.
coming through, and just it was visceral to me, and I could never shake that feeling of how that music made me feel and how that piano
Yeah.
makes me feel.
So when you were growing up, there was music floating through the house that was inspiring you?
Absolutely. And my you know my mom would play not just classical music, but she played musical theater for me too. And I was particularly in love with Little Orphan Annie.
Yeah, yeah.
And at that time, it was just new on Broadway, and Andrea Mercardle,
Oh,
the
yes.
Broadway cast recording, and I knew all the songs, and I was 3. When it finally came to Los Angeles, and they took me to the Pantages for to see Annie on my 3rd birthday,
How
and my
cool.
mom said, "You can't sing along. You have to shut up." And I said, "Okay, okay." But during the 2nd act, when Miss Hannigan was really laying into the orphans, this sense of injustice awoke within me, and I stood up in my chair, and we're 6 rows back in the orchestra section, and I yelled, "Shut up, Miss Hannigan!" at the top of my lungs, and the place stopped for applause for me, and then after the applause died down, the performers picked back up again, and on the way out, I said, "I'm gonna perform here someday." And my parents were mortified. But 10 years later, there I was in a Disney troupe, called the Class of 2000, less than a decade away, and that was in 1990. So Disney put together this troupe of kids that we stayed together from 1990 to 2000, and we were like early millennials. Um,
Yes.
uh, and the rigorous training, we were sort of the educated Mickey Mouse Club, and they auditioned us for 9 months before they put these 13 kids together.
Did
And the
they
parents had
really?
to pass the audition too, because they couldn't have any trouble with parents being rough with production or whatever. It was a
Yeah,
well-oiled
just
team.
stay out of the way. Yeah, well, it's the Disney way. I have friends that have worked for Disney for years, and no matter whether you're at the theme parks or film or television or whatever it may be, there's a certain mantra, a certain way, a certain vision, a certain branding and feeling and texture to everything Disney that falls in line really with everything they do,
Well,
which is
and
amazing, isn't
I,
it?
and I've heard some people complain, oh well, you know how they do it, or
I've
when I
heard
was
that too, the
I
other
was singing
side, yeah.
backup for Barbara Streisand, back on the Timeless tours. And I heard people in the backup choir going, "Well, I wouldn't do it that way." Who cares? Like, it's not your show. She's the producer, the director, and the performer. Do it the way she wants it. Like, and
Yes.
same at Disney or who's ever the director. If I'm a performer, I'm going to give that director whatever they're looking for, because they're the ones who knows how the whole project fits together.
Yes.
If I'm a director, then I expect my performers to give me what I'm asking for, because I'm the one who knows how the whole project fits together.
Let's rewind a little bit and the Timeless Tour, and how did that all happen and being a part of that? That's extraordinary, huh?
Yeah, well, it was a really incredible opportunity. Back at Loyola Marymount, I was a film major, but I had a minor in classical music and another minor in journalism. But the choir that I sang with at Loyola Marymount was conducted by Dr. Mary Braden, who is really a huge inspiration to me. So much that I made my senior thesis film about her teaching. It was so specific, and she always said we'd go far beyond the music making, and it was more about life lessons.
Mm.
And she would say life is too short to live badly, but more importantly, life is too short to live it. She would say, I'm sorry, life is too short to sing badly. More importantly, life is too short to live it badly.
Beautiful
So,
words.
yeah,
Everybody remember what you just heard because it's so true.
so it really is true, and those lessons did go far beyond the music making. But I think it was a year after I graduated, she put together a small group that to go sing sing with the Barbara tour, and Bob Etsy was the music director for the backup singers, and I mean he wrote with songs with Hal David and all sorts of
Oh,
disco
sure.
hits, and
Yeah. Yeah.
really just an incredible. And we lost him a couple years
Yeah.
ago,
Right.
but just a really sweet guy, and to be able to have that experience, and and I had a lot of experience singing off camera for a lot of feature films as well as on camera. And what was interesting on the Streisand Timeless thing, a lot of what we did was backstage, but then in the second act they brought us out on stage for people. Barbara go, what's nice, people who need
Who knew
people are
people?
the luckiest. And we're singing pop 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 pop, these huge choir parts that were probably orchestrated by Marvin Hamlish, or I mean all
What
these.
was that feeling like for you to be, there's Barbara Streisand, there's these iconic songs, you're the backup singer, you're a part of this, anytime there's a ticket to anything she does, it sells out. People are waiting, waiting,
Yeah, I
waiting.
mean, we were at Staples Center
Uh,
in LA, and and now it's called Cryptocurrency Center or whatever it is, but to me it's all
Everything I think
Staples.
is now.
Staples. But yeah, I mean, there's 65,000 people in the audience, man. I mean, and I to me it was a gig that was exciting, and I wasn't like, oh my god,
Yeah.
because I've
Yeah.
been doing this since I was 3.
Yes.
So
What was the very first thing you did at 3?
well, um, they stood me on top of a grand piano in a Japanese piano bar in Northridge. This is before there was karaoke machines, and so they had a live piano player, and I would sing Sakura in Japanese and America the Beautiful in English for a bowl of green tea ice cream and $20.
3 years old, $20 and ice cream. Yeah, I tell you, you're quite the business person,
And I've been invoicing people ever since.
That's incredible, huh?
For delivering services rendered. I don't bill.
Delivering
I
services
don't
rendered.
bill for time. I bill for my service delivered.
I like that. That's actually the way it should be done because there's more value to that because you're one of a kind. Um, so early on, here we are, 3, and you're singing, and that's happening. Tell us about some of those early inspirations for you at that early time and what happened from there. That's a very
Well,
early
my
time to begin.
my dad was in the Navy, and he was based in Japan, and my mom had. This is before I was born. My mom had gone over to meet my dad in Japan, and essentially tell the United States Navy that her husband was not going to be going back to Vietnam. And that my mom did that. Like, she convinced the U.S. Navy that my dad was not going back to war. And but growing up, I just remember her talking about Japan all the time and teaching me some of the music and about the culture. And I had Japanese artifacts in my room. Artifacts, it was like a Japanese fish kite and a kimono. And anyway, I felt very connected to the Japanese culture. And so, and learned some of the songs. And so that sort of became the building blocks in my repertoire, along with tomorrow, the sun will come out tomorrow. And I had this little Annie t-shirt and these rainbow suspenders, and I mean, and I would just
Yeah.
stand and perform for anybody who would listen. And
Yeah.
I had this really clear boy soprano voice all the way up till I was about 16.
Mm.
So that really allowed me to work a lot and play small diminutive characters up until I was about 16, particularly as a voice actor. But by the time I was 7, Madeline Clark, who was a former Radio City Rockette and Jackie Gleason dancer, she
That's right.
discovered me and said, "Wow, look at that red hair and those freckles." And I
Yeah.
don't really have the freckles anymore on my face, but kind of on my arms, they're still freckled. Um, they just sort of faded. But she she said, "Oh wow, let's get him in commercials and television." And my mom was real hesitant about that. But my grandfather went with to the audition for this, what was then CED and is now CESD, and I could memorize, I could deliver the direction that the director was asking for, the agent was asking for, and not argue. just give them what they wanted.
Give
And
them what they wanted, right? Time is money and right. Yeah.
so, I mean, now I have my own way that I want to do things when I'm doing my own projects. If I'm serving somebody else, what can I do for them?
You've done so many different things and continue to, starting out with, of course, the singing. When did the acting start to come into play for you, Chris?
Yeah, it was with Madeline Clark when I was about 7 because, my mom wanted me to take dance classes to be more, physical because I really wasn't doing that well in PE at school. I just,
Dodgeball is a rough one.
yeah, I mean, I was tiny and not really, made for that kind of stuff. So she took me, Madeline was really a dancer, but she said, "Oh, I don't have a tap class going on right now, but I have an acting class and let's get him in." So I started modeling, and the modeling actually led to getting cast for a commercial. That commercial was non-sync, no dialogue except for voiceover dialogue, and that was with Jay Silverman, who's really a fabulous director. And he said, I think I remember him saying, "I give the kid a chance on the voiceover." And we were on set, and they just set up some sound blankets in an old warehouse and a microphone, and I recorded the line, and I did it one take. And so that I got a
What was the line?
Don't be late, Dad. You can't be late.
You still have that youthful sound too. I mean, if you closed your eyes, you would think there's a kid right there.
Yes, I can still pull it off. I mean, I've tried to distance myself from that a little bit, but yeah,
It's part of your history.
it
Yeah.
is. It
We're
is.
we're just we're just big kids in adult clothing,
Yeah,
Chris. That's basically what it really is.
that's true.
That's it. So that must have been cool. Being a kid, a youth, having these opportunities. How were other kids treating you in school and everything else when you were doing all this incredible work early on? Or were you charging them $20 to hear you do the things?
There's a loaded question. How did they treat me? By the time, yeah, I had to charge. I had to start charging for my time pretty early on. Um, because I did have problems with some kids in school, not all. Some are really nice to me. I'm still friends with some of them today.
Oh, that's cool.
That,
Yeah.
you know, acting school and music school and dance school with.
Yeah.
But yeah, public school was a little rough. One of the teachers, this was when I was doing Casper the Ghost. Um, I would leave regular school, public school, and go to studio school when I was on the set. And I guess there's nothing scarier than ghosts except for monsters. And I'd come
When
back.
did that opportunity happen for you?
Uh, they were revoicing some of the early stuff, and I had to replace, step in and replace Lip Flap that was already there. And then we did it for Target store commercials for Halloween, and it was a really big campaign, and I auditioned for it and I booked it. But
Cool.
while I was away in the studio recording, and I'd come back to like regular school on a Friday or something, and then I remember a history teacher would say, "Who shall remain nameless?" And how much money did you earn yesterday, Christopher, while the rest of us had to be here in class? And she said that in front of the whole class. And then
That
she
makes it
stepped out
tough.
of the room, and some kid
And
again,
left you with the kids after
yes, she
that?
stepped out of the room to flirt with some guy in the hall or something. And this one kid in the class who I know exactly who it is, but will remain nameless, gets up out of his seat, comes over and socks me in the eye.
They
And
didn't like Casper?
whatever it was, so I come out to get picked up after school, and I got
Yeah.
a shiner, and I'm pretty dejected, and my mom's like, "Oh my God, you have a callback for Peter Pan and the Pirates in
Minus a
45
black
minutes."
eye. Yes.
And my mom called my agent at the time, who was Evelyn Schultz, and her sons did my first early headshots, which were so much fun. Um, but my mom's like, "I can't take him. He's got a black eye." And Evelyn's like, "Relax. It's a voiceover. I will tell production that he's coming in with black eye, and tell him what happened at school, and don't worry about it. I'll take care of it." So we went over to Buzzy's recording studio on Melrose, and they were waiting for me there, and um, anyway, it was the final callback, and I ended up booking the role of Toodles on Peter Pan and the Pirates, who's kind of like the shyest, demurest little lost boy. They animated all 65 episodes with the black eye. So that
Wow.
became a part of the character.
Became a part of, yeah.
Yeah, Tim Curry played Captain Hook, and that was incredible. And what was just all of this 360 stuff coming around, Stevie Kalinich, my dear friend who you interviewed a couple of
He
weeks
was a
ago,
guest. Yeah,
with
he's
his
wonderful.
art show, he at the Ernie Wolf Gallery in West Los Angeles. I go to the art show 4 weeks ago, and I bought one of the paintings for some of our supporters, and um, the one I'm filling out the form, and before I write Chris M, and before I write the A of Allport, the woman says, "I know who you are." She says, "I brought you to network at Fox when you were 10 years old." I'm like, "Diane, that is incredible." And she's married to the owner of the gallery. So, and we hadn't seen each other in, 3 decades, and so it was really sweet, and to see that some people really do recognize just raw talent. Like, I think Stevie's like that too. You're not just out there trying to get something, you're trying to do something.
Trying to do something,
We're
right,
trying to do
exactly.
something, and
Mhm.
and and the doing, the action of it is what's important to me, as opposed to the getting from
You
it.
get right,
I'm trying to
exactly.
give something.
Right, you're giving. It's the giving process. So did the acting bug bite you right away? Did you really enjoy it? Did you
Oh yeah.
wanna pursue it further?
Oh, I did. I remember thinking, wow, if I could just get a national commercial, I'll be happy the rest of my life. And sure enough, in a couple months, I booked a Kraft cheese commercial. Her
Ah,
hair,
really?
her hair was like sunset. No, her hair was like sunshine, her teeth like stars, and her sandwich just like mine. But when she asked me to trade, I thought, what else could it be but love? Then I found out what else. She traded me for a sandwich that's not made with Kraft cheese.
Mm,
But so, and then I remember, being, hearing late when Chris, get in here, your commercials on TV. And I like run in there, and I was so excited. And then it was over.
yeah.
And I'm like,
Quick 30 seconds, yeah.
okay, did that, you know, but I kind of realized that pretty early on that I had the tools to do what I wanted to do, and not to get fixated on one thing, not to get fixated on just acting only or singing only. And I had a piano teacher who said, "Oh, you can only study piano. You can't be
Right.
doing voice and dance."
Other things, right,
Right.
yeah.
And look, I'm not going to be a concert pianist, but all that piano that I took, I've accompanied Broadway singers. I have played for auditions. I compose, orchestral music. I conduct. I mean, so that those musical skills really came back in a very interesting way, uh, and really have made me a very fine musician. It's just I'm not just doing one thing. I'm leading the charge as to
Right.
what we all need to do to make the product work, make the final outcome work.
That used to be actually the way it was. We were trained too in school and just in life, to learn something about everything. And if you're in a particular industry and there's all these different components to the industry, learn bits and pieces at least of what everybody's doing. Even in this industry of broadcast media, same thing, whether you're on camera, behind the scenes, or a journalist, writer, producer, lighting, whatever it is, respect and appreciate what everybody else is doing around you, but also learn, what they're doing, because you never know when they're going to call on you to say, Bob couldn't come in today. We are at a loss and we're going live in 20 minutes. Can you run out there and do something? And I've
That
had
has
that happen
happened to
multiple
me.
times to
That has
save the day.
it's happened to me so many times.
Those are some of my favorite times,
It
actually.
really is. I mean, that's
Yeah.
why I conduct sometimes. I mean, when I was 16, I was in a Christmas choir concert at Paramount that was a live broadcast to Germany for the German consulate that had paid for the show. And for some reason, the music director got into a conflict with the producer 10 minutes before the live broadcast. And without missing a beat, the music director threw the baton down and walked off. Without missing a beat, the producer reached down on the floor, picked up the baton, looked at me, handed me the baton, and said, "Chris, you're going to conduct the concert now. The pianist will show you how to beat the 4/4 time signature." And we went live in less than 10 minutes, you know. And you have to, what I learned and what I do is to fulfill the moment, be present in the moment. All of the rehearsal, all of the training, you rely on it and it pays off. But right now it's just you and me, and we're just talking.
That's
And
right.
if I'm on
Conversation.
stage, then I'm having a conversation with the audience. I'm not
Exactly.
worrying about, oh dear, what's my next line?
Right, exactly. Do you prefer that? Do you prefer the ad lib versus the scripted, heavily scripted, everything has to be said exact process?
Hmm. As a creator, not exactly. As a writer, as a creator, everything I'm writing, the words have to be said, but the memorization process has to be there in order for there is an improv within the way they're said and the timing, that
To make it seem natural,
it
right?
has to be natural. But it's a fine line. I think that you have to be able to learn and practice both highly scripted material as well as ad lib material, so that you know the right thing to do at the right time and bring it in.
That's right, exactly. When did the voice you mentioned early on the voice material, the opportunities as a voice artist really came in. So the acting, the singing, and the voice work, those things were happening simultaneously for you?
Yeah, they were happening simultaneously. I got brought in to do a lot of voice replacement work. So there would be things that were already recorded that they needed to replace.
Yeah,
For instance, Binks the Black Cat, that's actually in Hocus Pocus, that's actually a composite of three different voices.
it
Um,
is.
yeah, it's a composite of three different voices in that. And I'm one of them. And it's an honor. Yeah, there he is. You know, like when it gets flattened, that's my cry.
That's
Uh,
the
and
is
like
Edsel too?
Edsel, yeah, Edsel, that was that, and I was, did some of the singing for Rex as well, because and there's Toodles, and
It's
that,
all you.
that was one of my favorites. It was really sweet, and we did there were
And
some,
there is what you're saying with the black eye.
yeah.
Isn't
And
that
then another
amazing?
cool thing that Steven Spielberg asked me to do was in Hook, when Robin Williams' character realizes that he is Peter Pan and flies through the air as Peter Pan does and lets out that the cock-a-doodle doo. That's me. That's
That
my
you're
voice.
doing that. Wow.
Because all that
I'll
stuff
watch
is,
that again and,
yeah.
look
And there's a couple other lines in there that you hear my voice. It's all my favorite never foods: yams, mammy apples, and candied squash. You know.
that's
So I did
perfect.
that, and then later on as an adult for Steven, I got to film the behind the scenes footage for Band of Brothers, some of that stuff
Yeah.
that was shot. So, I had a great opportunity to work with the World War II guys and really learn their stories before they passed on, and really carry forward some huge traditions, and heavy stories, and light stories as well.
How about some straightforward narration too for documentaries and other works like that? Have you done that kind of work as well? I've done a lot of that over the years, the voiceover,
Yeah,
announcer, narrator.
I haven't done too much announcer stuff actually. I'd be more than happy to, but I'm got a little typecast as being a little goofy, little. But I have a serious narration reel, out there too, someplace. Um, but what you'll in Emily or Oscar, there's actually some narration that my character does. It's an internal monologue that's very sotto voce. It's very small. It's very internal, and some of that is based upon the poetry of Steve Kalinich.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Tell us about that, Emily and Oscar. That's really something that is, I know, near and dear to you. That's sort of happening now. One of the reasons that you're in Washington, D.C., right?
absolutely. It's a love letter to old Hollywood. It's the culmination of all the decades of me growing up in Hollywood. Yeah, and that's my dear friend Barbara Rue, who's studio I'm actually at now, and her mom and her sister, and that's at one of the openings for Emily or Oscar that we did in Washington.
Tell us what it's about. Sounds
So,
fascinating.
so I play a character called Sam Feldman, and I wrote the script. People say, is it autobiographical? It's somewhat, but it's fantastical scenarios, but it's based on things that I've seen and heard and watched. Um, and Sam Feldman is a young screenwriter who falls in love with the character Emily Arthur, who's played by the brilliant actress Cassara Clark. Um, and um, they start this relationship, and it's a little quirky. They're both extremely quirky, and what you find is the ghost of Douglas Fairbanks, who comes along, and he's stuck in between the old world of film and the new world of digital, and he can't. In order to move on, he has to he has to take Sam's soul and put Sam's talents on display. And so he interrupts the relationship, and he says that, Sam, you can have the woman of your dreams, or you can have a pathway to the Oscar and get the gold. So that's the conflict. It's a Faustian, Goethe's Faust deal with the devil, but you have to watch it to see how Sam actually handles it and responds to it.
When was this conceived? This production?
Um, the roots of it started uh, to germinate. Well, I think I would rather say the seeds were planted more than 10 years ago.
Hmm.
Um, oh, thank you all for these welcomes,
Yes.
with comments. It's very sweet of you all.
Yeah, our lovely audience watching from around the
Sharing
world.
and
Yeah.
everybody else who's commented, Christine. Marilyn, wow, okay. Good evening to you too. So my dear friend and collaborator Maria Newman, um, who is a brilliant composer and violin player, she had these commissions to compose these new um, musical scores to old Mary Pickford films, and I was working in some of the restoration of the old black and white footage with Pickford and William Randolph Hearst films, with Marion Davies and all these amazing old cinema. So I spent a lot of time with the old cinema footage, and there was this one performance where the Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farms from 1919 was played with Maria's new score live, and the wonderful actress Amy Greenspan also did a live play version of Mary Pickford's story of coming to Hollywood from Toronto when she was 14 years old. And so I was really inspired by Mary Pickford, and I knew that I needed to do something with Mary Pickford and the creators of United Artists, who were Pickford, Douglas Fairbanks, Charlie Chaplin, and D.W. Griffith. And the reason why is because United Artists was created by those four artists so they could escape the oppressive nature of what were then Edison patents and Kodak patents and Paramount execs in New York who were telling them what to do, taking all the royalties, yet they were doing all the work.
Mm. Hmm.
And so they ran away to Hollywood. And there was more light, there was more expansive geography to film with, and there was nobody there. So I kind of, I needed these characters to come back to life, for me, and they exist in Emily or Oscar, all four of them. Steve Kalinich plays the prophet, who is also um, kind of the homage to D.W. Griffith. And my friend Dan Barbonell, otherwise known as Mr. Diagonal, plays the homage to Charlie Chaplin. And my dear friend Susan Boyd Joyce, who played the Fonz's girlfriend in Happy Days
Oh yes, sure.
and has sung probably on, like, I don't know, 10,000 different motion picture soundtracks. You hear her on everything. Thanks, Dad. My dad's
Is that your dad?
always coming in strong from LA. And
Thumbs up from dad. I
yeah,
love that. Welcome, Mr.
and
Allport. You've got a
and
fine son here.
my dad is a very fine architect in LA, and now in retirement he flies his Cessna and teaches aviation meteorology at Glendale College.
I love that. Uh, that was the other thing that I was studying while I was studying television, radio, theater, film, media law, journalism, all of this was architecture and design. And I absolutely love architecture and design.
You did
And
some cool stuff, as the lead architect, on working for various architectural companies. But he came up with the Guitar Center on Sunset Boulevard with guitars shooting off the roof, and
oh, yeah.
was a project architect on the Bellagio fountains in Las Vegas. So
Hmm.
very, very, taking really artistic, creative things and make them
Right.
buildable.
Right, exactly, and that's an art to be able to do that, right? To take the two worlds, merge them, and come out with something that's not only aesthetically pleasing, but that makes sense at the same time.
It has to work. You can't
A
just
lot of
have
work,
you can't just have
something pretty, and that's it.
it
Yeah,
doesn't work.
right.
Well,
It's
I've taken all of this stuff, and you mentioned media law too. I took some law classes at Cornell, and
right.
you know, uh, and I actually
Comes in
affected.
handy.
Huh?
It comes in handy too to have media law and things of that nature.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. There was
to
a little
understand it.
delay there for a minute, but I used all that came in handy. I did affect changing legislation in California and New York to protect young performers.
So, did you combine efforts with Paul Peterson at all with his organization?
Absolutely. I'm a past
Yeah.
president of a minor consideration, and Paul and I have worked closely on many things. And um,
What's a shame is what happened with Aaron Carter when, the singer, where all that money he made when he was a kid, and
well,
then when he was 18, he was met with a massive tax liability that hadn't been paid, that he had to pay and then claim bankruptcy or
so
send
yeah, so
parents
that's
off.
actually a fairly typical story. Prior to
Awful.
2000, the earnings were not protected. At least in California, it's the law said that parents were entitled to the custody, income, and services of the minor, thereby making the minor an indentured servant of the family. And when I testified, the California legislature said, "Oh, well, what's the problem?" And I said, "Are you telling me slavery is legal in this state, child slavery?" That's when we got the law changed. So now at least there is some set aside. Prior to that, the kid would earn money. The parents would not be encouraging education because all this money's coming in. They wouldn't pay the IRS. And then the child would turn 18 and the IRS would come over the kid's social security number for back
That's
taxes,
what they did. Yeah.
500,000 or more, and have bankrupt. So
Mm.
it's a big problem. So we strengthened the Coogan law in California and New York. I believe it's been rubber stamped in Louisiana and New Mexico, but there's 46 other states that don't have any protections because the 1933 Fair Labor Standards Act, which protects all other labor at a federal level and child labor, is but not entertainment child labor. That was redacted. And I would like in my lifetime to see that redaction removed from the 1933 Fair Labor Standards Act in
Abs-
Washington. And it's not a partisan issue; it's a children's issue.
yeah.
And
Exactly right. Yeah, they're doing all the work and absolutely. And you would figure, thing would be to put it away so they can go to college and they can have a good life. And
which is
that's
what my folks did, And my
right.
mom, she didn't give me the passbook when I was 18. I think she waited another year, and she said, "You're not to squander this away on fast cars and drugs and booze, and this is for school, to start a business, buy a house. You can't get a fancy car until you have all those other things in line." And
Right,
that's what we did.
exactly. Yeah, and earning it, there's just something different when you earn something versus when it's just handed to you. There's just a certain satisfaction. I think it's always a richer experience when you've worked hard and you've earned it, and then the accolades or whatever come, but they come as a result of the time put in, the blood, sweat, and tears, and and the tears, and the passion that you have for it. You created Allport Productions,
Mhm.
which sort of brings all of these things in together. Tell us about the inspiration for creating Allport Productions and some of the incredible things that you do.
Well, I was in college, and my senior thesis professor didn't want me to use new modern digital cameras. And this is early. when there
Oh
was
yeah.
first cinema
Right.
digital camera was available, Canon XL1 with interchangeable lens. He's like, "Oh, you can't use that." I'm like,
No,
"Well, I'm
no.
already using it in my internship, so tough." And
So tough.
yeah, and he's like, "Well, you're gonna pay the price for that." And I'm like, "Okay."
That's right.
So
Don't leave film and everything, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and that what they had, not that I had anything against film, but they didn't have good film equipment. It was like Super 8. I'm like, "Not shooting this on Super 8, okay? Like, it has to look good." So I went out and bought the camera myself out of my own money, and then there was this girl in my class that I helped with her sound design project, and her mom was working at Apple, and they gave me a beta copy of Final Cut Pro before it was released. It was the first nonlinear editor available for regular people, and so I went out and bought a Mac that could run it, and before I knew it, I was renting the gear out for a couple grand a week. Well, a year goes by. Oh, these lights just went out. Um,
I hope you didn't pay a couple grand for those lights.
no, I think the
Just,
battery died. Hold on, let me see if I can.
oh, they're excited. They get to see your chair. We've had a collection of guest chairs that we ended up having to see. That looks like a very comfy chair. Does it swivel?
It does.
Yes, very nice. Oh,
But
that's nice. It's sort of like a more of a we've now gone to the evening lighting. That's very
yeah,
nice.
I like
You
that.
sh you should have a sweater and a pipe. There should be a cat behind you and maybe a little something in your martini glass.
Yes, a little brandy snifter, but all I have is Diet Coke.
You make do with what you've got, right?
Yeah,
That's it. That's the nature of the business. So you
but
were talking about Allport and yeah.
well, all of a sudden I'm renting this gear out, and I get a tax bill from the city of Los Angeles for business taxes, and I said, "Well, I don't have a business." They're like, "Well, did you rent this gear out?" I'm like, "Yeah." "How did you know?" They're like, "We have ways of knowing, and if you rented the gear out, you have a business." So I officially incorporated and decided to make a business, and I started serving um, where at the crossroads of motion picture and music come together. And I was making these incredible music documentaries about classical music and the Musicians Foundation Orchestra, and Edie Rugolo, who was running that at the time. She really trusted me to tell the story of these incredibly gifted, college age kids playing at a virtuoso level together, and we were bringing in grants and things, by telling the story through a heartfelt way instead of a PowerPoint presentation. And and then I got the chance to direct the television production at the Dorothy Chandler, with John Williams conducting his orchestral premiere of Warhorse, because I know all the tech of running the cameras and following the score and the music at the same time.
Hmm. What was it like being in the presence of somebody as incomparable as John Williams?
Uh, he's a sweetheart, and just completely incredible. And what was incredible about him, and if you look up Warhorse Allport, you'll find on YouTube that performance with John. And what Mira McGrill, the flutist, says about him is that he trusted her. Um, he trusted her to play the right thing, and there was that level, and she trusted him. So there was that level of trust, artistic trust, that
Yes.
you're both there to give something, not to get. And that's a lesson that Alan Young, who was Mr. Ed Show,
Oh, yeah,
taught
that's
me
right.
early on,
Yeah.
right? Because I was doing a musical theater workshop. I don't know, I was like 17, and I'm like, "Fame, I'm gonna live forever," and I'm doing all this stuff. And he goes, "What are you doing, Chris?"
Yeah.
And I go, "I'm performing." He goes,
I'm
"Just
performing.
yeah, would you just stand there and sing it?
Yeah.
I think it'll be more powerful." And I said, "But I'm trying to," he's like,
I'm
"Just
trying
try."
to emulate what I see on Solid Gold.
Yeah, which was not great, and
Dance Fever. Yeah.
he said you can't be up there to get something, get attention. You have to be there to give it to your audience. And and that really sunk in over the years.
So important, right? Exactly. So let's talk about some of the wonderful work that Allport Productions does, what you offer, what some of the projects and what are some of the things that you're working on that you're very excited about.
So I've collaborated with incredible people, all around the world recently, including my collaborator Fonsu and Jai, who lives in Sweden. And we have this huge project coming out called the Senya Chronicles, and it's this action adventure oriented project where a NATO special ops team goes into a mountain in northern Norway, and they find themselves up against Scandinavian folklore. Not regular militants, but they're going up against some pretty heavy duty trolls. So that's fun, and that's coming out in novel form in the next couple of months. And it's going to be this beautifully illustrated by Rusty Gilligan, this beautifully illustrated novel that's going to be almost 500 pages. And
Wow.
from there, we're hoping to turn that into a streaming series. I've also got this really cool history of West Coast rock and roll music documentary coming out that we're still in production on, and that's with my collaborator Harvey Kubernick, who's 21 books out on the history of rock and roll.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah, that's super cool. And prior to that, we've done so many multi-camera things, and the other thing we're doing for the Amateur Athletic Union, the 92nd annual Sullivan Awards, which is for incredible athletes. Some of the
That's
athletes,
exciting.
that have already won are Sabrina Ionescu, who's top-rated women's basketball player. Um, you know, Bobby Jones was one of the first winners. Peyton Manning won in '96. So, it's a really big award, and I'm directing the multi-camera for that in December. And I have some Christmas music stuff coming out this
Oh, you
December.
do? Tell us about that.
So we have Arise
This
Awake.
audience loves that.
Oh, good. As I love Christmas music too.
Me too. I've got a climate controlled storage unit I've mentioned to some of the guests that has thousands of CDs of all kinds of music. A lot is instrumental as well, and Christmas music, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, but also reel to reel tapes, sealed LPs, cassettes, just all kinds of stuff. And there is a big selection of Christmas music as well. And I've already started listening to some. Now, some people will say, what? It's too early. I'm not talking about the same 3, 4,
Mhm.
5 songs you hear over and over and over again on the radio, or grandma got run over by the reindeer 1,000 times and all that. I'm talking about a lot of different versions with a lot of instruments and orchestras and choral groups and singers, and it sounds like every song is fresh and new of "Oh Come All Ye
Yeah,
Faithful" or something.
yeah,
And that's another thing too, that the radio stations, working in radio, a lot of stations and a lot of like the stores where they play the music, they've pulled away from Silent Night, "O Come All Ye Faithful," "Angels We Have Heard on High," and a lot of the traditional beautiful Christmas music, and you're hearing more, which is fine too, but you're hearing more of the secular sort of versions. You'll hear "Deck the Halls," "Jingle Bells," "Jingle Bell Rock," but not as much of, "O Come All Emmanuel," and some of the
well,
beautiful original Christmas music.
you touched on something about the choral and orchestral arrangements, and I'm a huge fan of, like, when you watch my scores, you see these just layers of it's stratified instruments going up. It starts small and then it builds and builds and builds into kind of a wall of sound kind of
Yeah,
thing, because I've
yeah.
studied those arrangements, from the Spectre wall of sound kind of stuff. Um, and and what you'll find with Arise Awake O Christmas Day is that I'm trying to blend the secular Christmas with the sacred Christmas.
Putting it together,
I'm
that's
putting it
great. That's
together because it's two sides of the same coin, and it has to work together in both ways.
Can't have one
So
without the other,
yeah,
right?
so we have that, and then this year I'll be
Is it
releasing
instrumental or is that,
it's
choral, vocal?
orchestral and choir.
That's
So, and
gonna
it's
be
the choir that sings off camera on Glee is singing as doing the
they are your, choir?
yeah. So Tim Davis Choir.
Now, is this available yet, or?
Yeah, you can go on iTunes or
Oh,
Amazon
nice.
Music or YouTube or
Oh, I
Spotify.
got to add that to the collection.
Yeah, if
It's
you look,
already a
and
keeper.
I have CDs
You
available.
do?
On I think there's some on eBay and CD Baby and stuff like that.
When was it? When did you do it?
We did that, I think, 2016, and so, and it's really touching,
Nice
and
stuff.
it's
Yeah.
this huge choir thing with harp and strings and the Hollywood
Beautiful.
Chamber Orchestra with Mark
Yeah.
Robertson. And
Nice. Yeah.
so, and there's bells and sleigh bells and things, and along with that, I wrote a setting of the Lord's Prayer with an additional second verse that I came up with, and then a
Wow.
Kyrie and an Alleluia. And this year, I'll be releasing a new massive version of "O Holy Night," which is kind of actually, it's really blending the worlds of popular music, sacred music, and then by the end, it breaks into this sort of like Memphis kind of gospel organ sound,
That's cool.
and it is fun. I mean, and it's huge. Like it's a production. So that'll be
Mm.
coming out December this year.
So, were you a fan of people like Mantovani, Percy Faith, Henry Mancini, a lot of the orchestral
Definitely
leaders?
Hank Mancini influenced my family's life a lot. My family's lives, I should say. Herb Alpert and Tijuana Brass.
Yeah.
I was listening to those records when I was 2, 3 years old. My parents gave me a taste of honey and whipped cream and other delights, and I'm like 3 playing this thing on a Fisher Price record player.
Yeah. Fisher Price. Remember? Do you remember the Ray Conniff singers? The Ray Conniff
Cool.
singers. He also created, with a limited amount of singers, this expansive wall of sound
Yeah.
effect layer. The Carpenters did that too.
I I I
Richard and
I
Karen.
produced a show for Richard, a few years back, but yeah, that stratified
It's like
layered.
overdubbing, sort of
Yeah,
yeah,
and
right.
and and I had the great fortune of working with Sally Stevens, who really knows how to layer those vocals, and so many, great orchestra leaders, to
Yeah.
really watch them and understand how that process works and to blend the textures to get the sound just right. No one voice can be sticking out. It can't, it's not a solo thing. The choir
Yeah.
is there to support the soloist, and that sound has to be sort of like a basket to
Yes.
hold the
Yeah.
soloist.
Yeah, like enveloping a lot of the jingles singers for the jingles for television, radio, commercials, all of it, promos. That was that harmonious. We've had some of them come through, session
Yeah,
singers, and
Ron Hicklin singers.
yes. And do you know that which I learned recently in recent years, um, Ray Conniff had singers originally that he used, and then he did a shift. I think it was in the early 70s where he went with more of a youthful sounding group, and he brought in the Ron Hicklin singers to become the Ray Conniff singers,
Mhm.
and they sing a lot of the contemporary music of the day that you hear in those later albums of his. And they were the Hicklin singers who were also doing tons of promotion, tons of commercials. They were the voice behind the scenes on the Partridge Family. They sang Love American Styles theme. I mean, they were on everything, but they were, for a period, the Ray Conniff singers. And that
Yeah,
harmonious extra, they have, I still hear a lot of their music and their material, phenomenal
well,
sound. The harmony is incredible.
I'll tell you, Jim. Like, I think over the past couple of decades, that the background singers didn't get enough credit, and we're what Harvey and I are doing in this West Coast music documentary is giving them the credit they deserve, because those hit records were nothing without the backup singers. So what Sally Stevens did, and and Ron Hicklin, and I'll bet you both of those would love to, those people would love to come on your show.
Oh God, yeah.
Sally's
Oh,
got a new
sure.
book about everything she sang on, and Ron has a great presentation about everything that he led and sang on, and they're just great people. And I'm fortunate to have studied with them. I got to study with Debbie Reynolds, when I was a kid, and Donald O'Connor.
Debbie Reynolds, yes.
So and Jeannie Russell from she was Margaret on Dennis the Menace. She appears in Emily or Oscar. Um,
Tell
and
us about some of the other cool things in your career, people you've worked with, and some standout. You listed quite a few already. I mean, you started out with the Streisand
well,
thing,
how about Betty
but
White and Carol Burnett? You know,
Carol Burnett, I had an opportunity, a couple of occasions to chat with her and meet her. She would be a phenomenal person on this show, but
Mhm,
at various situations, Carol Burnett, Judy Collins, Florence Henderson,
mhm,
all I didn't get a chance to meet Betty, but the other three, yes. And I have to say, Judy Collins, Florence Henderson, Carol Burnett, and upon meeting them and conversing with them, exactly what you would hope, exactly what you would have expected, and warm and funny and real and authentic. Florence Henderson was spectacular. Still miss her. And Carol Burnett, I mean, that
well,
is
my run in it was really a beautiful experience, but with
who
Carol,
ran in, you or her?
well, both really,
You I was gonna say that.
because what happened was I was in that Disney troupe and we were doing the show for the People's Choice Awards. This is '91, I think, and it was this group of kids that we had this really cool number. We don't want to be sassy. We don't want to be rude. We prefer to be classy when it comes to attitude. And it was
You
all
just
about
made everybody happy, you see? You did sing on the show.
all sang a
Gang,
little
he
bit,
sang.
but it was about getting the People's Choice, to listen to kids because we were the ones who were selecting and driving the media. Anyway, we did this huge production number. Vanilla Ice was supposed to join us for rehearsals and join us on the production. He couldn't be bothered to show up to rehearsals, and he um, comes on stage in this Live to New York show. We're at Paramount filming or taping, and he's supposed the kid who was dancing with him was supposed to give a high five to him, and Vanilla Ice turned his back on the kid on live television and walked off into the audience and left the kid hanging trying to give him a high five. And from all you can look at the tape, it's online, on YouTube or Vimeo or something, and it appeared to be kind of like a racial kind of dig against against that kid, and that really upset the whole troop of kids. We were very upset by that, by what Ice did, and we went backstage after a number was over. Burt Reynolds had introduced us and then shuttled us off stage, and we were crying backstage because of how Ice had kind of dissed our friend. And
Wow.
we're like 11 or 12, and that means a lot to a
Yeah.
kid. And Betty White and Carol Burnett come backstage from their places in, at the People's Choice Awards, and
Mhm.
they gathered us up like little ducklings, and we're all crying, and they said, "Don't worry, you guys are the professionals, and he's the one who won't have a career ever again."
Oh my god. That's funny, huh?
So yeah, so they were sweet, and I mean, it's because they what they could tell is that all of our hearts were there. We
Yes.
weren't there. I don't know. We were probably making after scale or double scale. I don't know what it was. It didn't matter. We were there to give everything that we had. And that
Yeah.
was the joy. That was
Right.
the passion. That's what mattered. To be
Yes.
precise, to know what camera to look at, to make your mark, to not forget, to be to be on point with the choreography. And Gary Smith and Dwight Hemian were the director producers of that show, and they knew how to use their resources so well. They knew who was best at making the mark, which was me. And they knew who were better dancers, and they rotate the troupe around, and you'd hand off the wireless microphone. And but Dwight Hemian took me into the director's trailer one day, and I don't know why. He saw something that I would be interested in, but he showed me about multi-camera TV directing, and so that really changed my life. I was 13, and to really understand how you can see all these cameras from all these different angles, and how the angles work and what they provide the production and when to cut.
Isn't that incredible? So you really soaked it up and you soaked it in then, huh? You were really paying attention early on.
Yeah. And then, Mario Congreve at Loyola Marymount, one of my cinematography teachers and TV production teachers, he really then helped me refine the television directing aesthetics, to really be able to be, you got to be in the moment.
Yes.
You can't panic. You can't
No.
freak out. You have to solve problems in real time.
Yes. Now, do you love doing I love doing
I
that.
love it.
Even though I'm not big with surprises and chaos, and I try everything in life to avoid that. When it happens, I roll up the sleeves and I dive in and I run to the fire. Everybody else is flipping out crazy, everything's falling apart, and that's when I am
Well, and
at
that's
my
why
best. I love
that,
it.
that's why you have the career that you have enjoyed over these years, and why you have longevity. We talked about longevity, and I think one of the biggest things in show business is to keep going. And if you
Yes.
expect that you're going to be able to just, oh, I'm just going to get this on my timeline, is not going to work. You have to show up every day and not stop and be relentless in your pursuit of what it is that you know that you have to say, and get people to come onto your side, not force them, but invite them. And the ones that don't want to come onto your side, no big deal. They can do what they want to do. But, if you can work together with somebody and you find the synergy, then that's where you put your energy. That's where you put your talent.
Tell us about some of the other, cool things and highlights, of your career. You've had an opportunity again to touch upon a lot of different things, and I think it's great because there have been times matter of fact, I just thought of this, maybe I'll ask this first. Have you ever had times where you've said, I do so much, I have my hands in so many different things, and sometimes when all of those things are needing attention and you're being pulled by all of these things and the people involved in all of these things at the same time, you stop and say, oh, sometimes I just wish I did one thing. I went in, punched the clock, came out, home by 5, done. When everything's this deadline, this project, the phone's ringing, this one needs this, I got to be here, this is happening. And a lot of these things are detached
Mhm.
and they all need 100% of the attention. Do you ever have where you've said, boy, I wonder what it would be like if I just had done the one thing and focused just on the one?
Well, I think I think about that for about 5 seconds, and then I realize I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Because if you need something done well, ask a busy person.
That's very true. Yes.
And because the thing is, I'm not wasting time talking about it for hours on end in committee meetings and this, that, and the other. What do you need me to do? Let me get it done. And I'm employing techniques that I have developed. I'm not going to tell you I'm an expert in something that I haven't done before. I will tell you
A lot of people do that,
I
and
will tell
then
you, I've
yeah,
never done that before. And sometimes a client will say, well, we want you to do it anyway. And I'll say,
yeah,
well, okay, I'm warning you, I'm figuring that as I go. But what I'm figuring out is a plan about how we can make this a repeatable process to make a repeatable product. So that process can be the next time we have to do it, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. That's the
yes.
big thing in show business. You can use the template, and then you can modify the template for what the customer needs, but you need to know which template to choose.
What are some other, memories from the career that really stand out for you as well? Just when you look back at that experience, it was just extraordinary for you.
Well, the Smith Hemian people, after I graduated the class of 2000, and they said, "Hey, Chris, we don't have any more performing for you to do. You've graduated this thing, but we'd like you to come and work with us at the Democratic National Convention in 2000 at Staples Center." And I wasn't there for political purpose. I was there as a talent um, coordinator, and subsequently, talent director. And I found myself giving TV direction to then President Clinton, um, who, I mean, first, the first lady came up to me when she, she's like, hello, I'm Hillary Clinton. I'm like, yes,
I think I've done my research. You do look familiar.
there's a pantsuit, a woman in a pantsuit talking to me. And I mean, and this is, 20 years before Pantsuit Nation or whatever, 16 years.
Right.
And, anyway, and then, I spent some time, with the first daughter, we were working together, and then she introduced me to her father. And he sat there with me for about 20 minutes just asking me about my career and my education and stuff. And then he said to me, so now tell me, what do you want me to do tomorrow?
Mm,
He was
yeah.
not arrogant about asking for television direction help. And that's something that I know about politics, is that it's a TV show.
Yes, it
Um,
really is.
it
Yes.
really is. And a lot
Hmm.
of the candidates don't do well because they're not connecting with people, because they haven't taken their acting classes
They
or taken
haven't
them
taken.
seriously.
Remember what they say about the Kennedy Nixon debate? They said that, I think the story goes, there was a conversation with Richard Nixon's team and John F. Kennedy's team. And I could be paraphrasing a little bit, but to the effect of, they were talking about whether or not, for the television side, because this was going to be a television debate, I think it's CBS, and also heard on radio. So there's the television crowd, and TV was still, people were, it was black and white, and people were still getting used to it. And then there was, of course, the radio side. And the agreement was they weren't going to bother with the makeup. They were just going to go and talk about the facts and debate it together right there. And they were seated. They weren't standing like they do now at the podiums. They were seated in the chairs and all that, and swivel chairs. And so they agreed they wouldn't do the makeup. So Richard Nixon didn't go with the makeup, but Kennedy did. And his team had it on. He looked like $1,000,000. The hair was perfect. The makeup was on. Richard Nixon didn't do that, and he was perspiring and sweating on camera, and people were seeing that versus very nicely coiffed and powdered Kennedy. And it's amazing because the television audience said in surveys Kennedy won the debate. The radio side, where there was no visual of sweating or makeup or anything with either one of them, thought on content, Nixon won the debate. Kind of interesting. You talk about like television, the visual, the whole theatrical part of it, and how the makeup made a big difference. So the TV viewers thought Kennedy won. He looked at ease. Nixon was sweating and made him look nervous. And but on radio, the
Yeah, I mean,
radio
I
survey
think,
said Nixon won the debate from content.
yeah, I mean, I think that in terms of politicians, that there should be a little bit more refinement of, just being able to connect with people, as opposed to force a message onto voters that they need to hear. And that's a little bit more effective, and that's what happened that time with Kennedy and Nixon. And to sort of take the pressure off winning or losing, and be more about, what do we need, like what do you need, um, if what does the constituent need from the candidate. And I think that's a little bit stronger of a place to be, where it's, because it's a little more honest,
Yeah.
and it's just a little more real.
Yeah.
And these days, there's so much technology, but to be able to connect, and look, I mean, I'm on a silly little, iPhone, not an iPhone, but an iMac camera right now. It's not really that good in low light, so I don't feel that great about how I would normally, do some, a regular broadcast. But at the same time, this is what I have right now because I'm on the road, so I'm connecting with you.
And
And
this is now kind of like acceptable in certain ways. People with the eye reports, I remember television newscasts would never take video in from people's cell phones and put them on the 6 o'clock news. They'd send a crew, a satellite truck. It would have to
right,
be a beautiful, beautiful image. Now they encourage people to send in your cell phone video of the car accident or what the fire or whatever's going on, and no matter what that looks like, you've even seen it on networks.
Yeah,
They'll
in
they'll put
some
it
ways,
on.
it's leveling the playing field because it's a little bit more honest. You
Yeah,
know, it's just a little bit more honest that you and I are having a conversation in our respective, places, um, in this format, and I think it works really well, and
yeah,
grateful
e-
that it can be a smooth conversation in that way. And another
exactly.
time, we'll do a big production.
We'll be on location next to the Hollywood sign with helicopters and strobe
With
lights,
League
and
lights,
we'll be in New York by the Statue of Liberty, or from the
Rockefeller Center, ice skating.
yes, by the tree. We're going to be seeing that real soon here on the East Coast. We cannot wait. Um, cool stuff. You mentioned, now, had you ever had any involvement with the Ron Hicklin singers,
Um, not
working with
direct,
them
not
or projects
directly,
that?
not directly, but recently, as of February or March of this year, I developed a little project for Ron, documenting his. Well, he had put on this presentation at it was called Modernism Week in Palm Springs, and he, if you think about modernism in music, he
Yes.
identified the sound. That was his sound icon. And so,
Yes.
we put together the video presentation for him,
That's cool. So it's sort of
and
celebrating the work and
yeah, celebrating the work, and it's the same with what we're doing at the Gold Star Recording Studio. That's where where the West Coast sound started. That's where Richie Valens recorded, uh,
yes.
Sonny and Cher, Eddie
Yeah.
Cochran, even before Richie Valens in Summertime Blues. He was a real rocker. Yeah, Buffalo Springfield recorded there, and it was an Iron Butterfly, Herb Alpert and the
Yeah.
Tijuana Brass before he went off and made his own studio at A&M at the old Charlie Chaplin studio.
Yeah.
But this that sound was so iconic, and the reason it worked is because it wasn't at Capitol, and if you had $100, you could go in and cut a demo.
Yes.
And it wasn't like, well, we are getting these songs in from the Brill Building in New York, and
Mm,
these are corporate written, and we're going to have Sinatra sing them. And if you were a singer songwriter and you had $100 or whatever, you could negotiate with them. It didn't matter your skin color, your orientation, whatever. You could go into that studio and cut your record, and they
yeah.
were there trying to make records and selling records, and they were getting them out to KFWB, which was AM, and it was music at that time
Yes.
before it was news, and now it's not even on the air anymore. But
They
uh,
used to do a lot of jingles too, jingles
yeah,
for radio stations, jingles for television promotions and
and
image campaigns for networks and stations, which I always love. I'm a big collector of all of that
I
too.
love that, like the jingle singing, and along those lines, I
Do
had the
you?
opportunity to work with Stan Freberg
Oh
when
yeah,
I was very young on singing a jingle on a commercial
that's
for.
cool.
It was
Yeah.
a product called Fibar,
Hmm.
and it was like a singing beaver or something.
Yeah, you don't really have that now as much where commercial, I'm a pepper, you're a pepper, where a lot of the commercials, they were singing the product. They were
Yeah,
singing about the butter and about the detergent and about the car and,
yeah. Have you
see the
driven a
USA and the
Ford
Chevrolet.
lately?
Right. And there
Yeah,
was something about that. And I just talked about this the other day with one of our guests, as somebody who is a television person, a broadcast person. Um, Missing the jingles, missing the singing, harmony sound of commercials, harmonious sound, but also the theme songs to television shows. Today, something will come on, could be a fabulous show, but you don't really get attached to a theme because there really isn't anything. It's just a quick little psh, and then they're on. And then when the credits come, if there are any credits at all, it's just a quick little. It's where when Maude came on, or All in the Family, or Dick Van Dyke, or the Brady Bunch, or the Munsters, or whatever it is, Alfred Hitchcock, you would hear the music. The music would grab you and bring you in. You knew what was on. Everybody would get to the TV or whatever. And even today, when you hear them in reruns, the Carol Burnett show, da na 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 da na na, you knew it was her, it was it. And before they said a word, you already had a feeling. There was a good feeling happening in hearing the theme song, and we're missing that, and the
And
jingles and the
you
singing.
you knew what the show was immediately.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
even
A
though
lot of people think that should come back because we
well,
need comforting things like that in
well,
this crazy
I think
society.
we do need more comfort and more wholesome things in this crazy society. And on the jingle, for sports stories with Denny Lennon and his cousins were the Lennon sisters, who sang all those fabulous, vocals. But I wrote a theme song for Sports Stories with Denny Lennon, and it's choir and this huge orchestra. Sports Stories with Denny Lennon, but and there's timpani and
Yeah.
trombones, and
Symphony and
I
yeah.
mean it's like the 20th Century Fox kind of thing recorded at the Newman scoring stage, but we're able to do this now in more clever ways that don't cost as much money, and really produce an effective result. So yeah, I am a fan of taking what was old that worked really really well. Um, hey everybody who's texting in.
Yeah,
Um,
the lovely comments in the JMS lovely chat room. They're all subscribers, yeah.
but I'm trying to take what's old that worked and bring
Yes.
it into new tech,
Yes.
and put the two together instead of just saying, "Oh, that's old, let's throw it away." Well,
Yeah.
maybe we're not going to shoot in black and white anymore or record in mono, and maybe we have surround sound now. But the music was really good and the arrangements were incredible.
Yes, they're
So
really
let's
were.
arrange well again and use modern technical techniques to produce what was really high quality.
Even production music, when working in television and radio, we would pull out production music we would use for various things. And we'd be sitting there listening to the production music, like, holy, that sounds so. Listen to that rhythm section for that production cut. That sounds really good. Gee, I would love to listen to that in the car. And it's production music done in the studio, session musicians, and done for whatever you want to use it for your productions. But some of the material is really, really good. And those session musicians were musicians that maybe backed orchestras, backed popular singers, and then they went in and they did their session of the day with
Yeah.
that fabulous music.
I
And
think that we should give a huge shout out to our session friends in both New York and Los Angeles because
fantastic.
I
Yeah.
mean
All that music.
those session players are so gifted and they're focused solely on that instrument. Solely. Oh, hey Stevie.
Yeah, Steve's
Um,
here. Hey, Steve, we love you back.
and Stevie, by the way,
I
is a
let him know that
national
you were
treasure.
on. Steve, yes,
Stevie is a national treasure.
if you didn't see the episode when Steve Kalinich was a guest on my show, go back in the archives. We'll have him back too. Go back in the archives and you'll find out who Steve is. He's extraordinary. And he is, like you say, a national treasure. And it's so cool. He says, love you. And he says, Chris is a great gift. Merlin pointed out something too. She goes, commercials are using old songs now. That is true that you're hearing like rock songs and some disco beats, and you're hearing some country and other songs from back that are being used underneath commercials for everyday products. And they're, songs that are familiar, songs that we were just at a concert, fabulous concert with the Rascals, who were, of course, known for It's a Beautiful Morning and all these great songs. And Felix Cavalieri, who was a guest on our show, invited me to come, and we went, and it was fantastic, and saw him backstage the whole bit. But they're using some of their songs underneath and everything else. I really like that. But I also still miss specifically made production music that when you heard it was specific to that product, to that company, to that item, to that radio station, TV station, whatever. I mean, whoever came up with do, 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 NBC. I mean,
And
that's like,
xylophone, it's three
that's
notes, bong,
gold.
bong,
Do, do,
and
do.
the peacock feathers,
Yes.
you know,
And then there's one for Honda where there's only 2 piano chords. I think it just comes on and goes doo doo, and that's it.
yeah.
Uh,
I mean,
those
that's what I call sound iconography, which actually probably,
iconography, that's a
oh, hey,
great
Scott.
word.
Yeah, it's
Scott
good to see you.
Firestone's
Scott,
here.
he was
Welcome,
actually my
Scott.
drummer. He played drums for me in a couple of
Did he really?
Yeah, he's cool.
Welcome to the Jim Masters Show,
Yeah,
Scott. Awesome to have you here. I hope you stick with us.
I
And
love it to
your
Scott.
dad, Steve, is visible in the poster behind Chris.
Yeah, he is. This is
Yeah,
Stevie.
somebody asked about what's behind you. He's in Washington, D.C. on location. This isn't his normal environment, but he put together something nice, even in a quick, moment
Yes,
here.
these are posters for Emily or Oscar, and I'm just so proud of that film and so proud of the people that we have in it, including Stevie. And one of the lines that Stevie says in the film is actually kind of how we met, because I was working on some Beach Boys gigs, doing some camera work for them, and I was kind of singing backup with the Honeys at the same time, and I had no business singing backup when I was supposed to be shooting camera. I was doing both. And so Stevie comes up to me afterwards. He goes, kid, you're really talented, but you're kind of a pain in the ass. And I go, yeah, so are you. And we hit it off. And
This
so,
is the guy that got green tea ice cream and $20 at the age of 3.
great.
Remember that, folks.
So Stevie and Steve, that line appears in Emily or Oscar, and that's
Yeah.
Stevie and I handling over $10. Um, right there, you can sort of see. And, if you go
Very
to
cool.
emilyoroscar.com and follow Emily or Oscar the movie on Facebook, you can see a lot of pre-production stills. It's going to be at the Cinemark at Howard Hughes, LA on Saturday, December 3rd at noon. And that's with the Culver City Film Festival. So thank you, Christine. So get your tickets early, if you're going to be in LA. It just played at the Williamsburg Nostalgia Fest in Virginia
Very cool.
on Saturday, I think. But yeah, Howard Hughes LA Cinemark, Saturday the 3rd at noon. And get
Cool.
there early so you can get on the red carpet. And the
Very
tickets
nice.
you can get through the Marina Del Rey Film Festival, or just show up at the theater, but make sure you're there a good 45 minutes early to get the tickets.
Wish I was there. I would MC. I do a lot of MCing, master
Oh,
ceremony
we'd
stuff,
love to
Carnegie
have you
Hall and
in.
everywhere. That would have been cool to
Well,
MC.
we're actually going to do a big like red carpet event, because
Yeah.
what we're doing is a festival
I
year.
love doing red carpet interviews and all that kind of stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
we would love to have you, because what's happening is we're doing a festival year, and we've been going to all these festivals all around the world. Oh, hi, Jennifer and Pumpkin. Meow. Pumpkin's our little cat.
So who's Jennifer?
Jennifer's my girlfriend.
Welcome, Jennifer.
She,
Nice to have you here.
she's a
She's a lovety now. She's a lovety for us, but a real lovety for you.
yes, and she's a pediatrician in Los Angeles, and Pumpkin, who she mentioned, is our little cat. So
Cool.
yeah,
That is cool.
but
You mentioned promos, and I mentioned promos. You mentioned the Ron Hicklin singers and how the voices were used in harmony, this fabulous voices used in harmony for all these different types of productions, and how you're working with Ron on that documentary. It's kind of cool. And I've always been a big, like, as I mentioned, collector and fan of radio station jingles coming from
mm,
my broadcast background, television network promotion. I'd always look forward to when the networks every summer would come out with their new fall campaign, and they would spend a fortune on these elaborate imaging, fantastic network slogans and new promos for the
hey,
station.
but like K Earth 101, and
Yes, or great
FWB
moments on CBS
98.
and ABC, Still the One. And I've
I
got a
think
little I
we
got a
look.
little clip I dug up here of the Ron Hicklin singers doing an image campaign. Now, this was Bob Klein, Klein and they were a big company. He's actually in LA. He's in his 90s, Bob Klein. He's in musical theater. But he had Klein Ann, which is a fantastic advertising agency, and TV stations and networks and others across the country would hire them to create their images, their logos, graphics, and their news, music, as well as their station image campaigns. And I did a little digging because I know Bob, and I said, when you put this campaign together, and I'll show you a little clip of it. When you put this campaign together, which I thought was always fantastic, and he would come up with cool slogans that would play off either the call letters or the channel number of the TV station. So in this case, it's a CBS affiliate, Hartford, Connecticut, WFSB. At that time, it was a post Newsweek station, Channel 3, and they used to call it you're in the land of the three, which was fantastic. So that meant Southern New England. That was all of Connecticut and Western Massachusetts and Rhode Island. If you're watching that station, you are in the land of the three. And these stations would pay a fortune to have like a company like Klein and to produce these really slick and warm and fun and exciting promotional campaigns. And I said, Bob, you know, the singers are so good in this promotion that he did in 1980. And I said, you know, I have this clip, I have this. Who are the singers? They're just so, they sound so familiar. They sound like they were on the Partridge Family and Love American Style and commercials. And he said, I used the Ron Hicklin singers. When I did those promotions, we brought in Los Angeles, the Ron Hicklin singers, which were really the sound of the day. They were used for so much. And that's who's singing the jingle for this CBS affiliated station in Hartford, Connecticut, WFSB Channel 3. So here is a little bit of it. This is their Land of the Three promo that they created, Klein and created, and he brought in the Ron Hicklin singers, which is cool. And I sent it to Bob. And he says, oh my God, I haven't seen that in years. And it was cool. Here it is.
Take this.
You're here in the land of the three. You're near all the good things to see. The spirit of our times, the beat of our bone times. Make the most of it on WFSB. In the land of the three. Three cheers. In the land of the three, we're living in close harmony. The beat of the city, the country so pretty. See the best of it on WFSB. In the land of the three. In the land of the three.
Wow. And you can hear how clean the voices are and how sweetly tuned they are. And they all sound like one voice.
And the instrumentation, I mean, just really.
The horn section, the whole thing is there. And it might as well be, you know, a big production of a song, you know, a hit song for a record.
Right, exactly. It's really, you know,
so much respect for that sound and how good that sound really from, you know, I think from, you know, the late 70s through the late 1990s, things are really cooking, you know, musically in the studio, and the sound was just really, really, really clean.
I miss it, don't you? Even Steve loves it. Steve says, great.
On the radio imaging, Jim, you know, you might want to talk to Ron and also Sally Stevens, and also, you know, Darlene Koldenhoven. She did a lot of those radio imaging stingers for, I think she did K Earth 101 and maybe K Big. I'm not sure, but you know, these singers are around and they're the soundtrack of our lives, yet they get little credit, you know?
Yes, right, exactly. Yeah, so it's good to tell their story, you know?
And some of the singing that I did was on the soundtrack for Mr. Holland's Opus.
Oh, yeah, really? Tell us about that.
On-camera people singing, but I was the voice of them, and I got to work with Michael Kamen, who composed a lot of that music, and you know, and what was cool about that, he put together San Francisco Symphony and Metallica, you know, for some projects, and that's when I really realized that, whoa, it doesn't really matter the genre. Good music is good music, and you can combine instruments from different genres to really make a really incredible and wild sound. It doesn't have to be all one way.
Are you ever torn between acting and voice work and singing and producing, composing, directing? If somebody, you know, if God came down from the sky and said, all right, you must pick one, there has to be one that speaks closest to your heart and soul, Do you have them in any sort of order, or
Yeah.
is that something you can't answer because you equally love all?
Well, I do equally love them all, but on a practical matter, if a thunderbolt came and struck me from the sky, I would just have to say directing because that's the most
Directing,
practical.
directing,
And
yeah.
I know how to connect with performers. I know how to elicit performances from them without wasting time and have fun. That's the biggest thing is to have fun. And to do that, it requires being well organized. Um, that's how we pulled off Emily or Oscar. We just did it in little chunks, and it was a lot of fun. That was the big thing with it. But yeah, I have them in a pecking order. Screenwriting is really important to me too, um, because without good writing, there's nothing. And writing orchestral music. But the great thing is there is no thunderbolt in the sky that says you can only do one thing. And
Yeah.
I do have my priorities set up and my time scheduled out where I'm doing, 3 months dedicated to writing, 3 months, and then if I have to take certain weeks to go direct a project, if I'm needed on set as an actor or to do a live performance, I'm doing a couple live performances. I think on the 18th of this month, whatever the third Friday is of this month, at the Rap Saloon in Santa Monica. My friend,
Friday is the 18th is this Friday. Yeah.
yeah. So my friend Elena, she does this really cool poetry slam thing, and so I'll be singing there. I'll be singing at the Toluca Lake Christmas ceremony on December 4th. I'll be singing again with Elena at the Rap Saloon and playing keys as well um, on December, whatever the third Friday is in December. I'm gonna do some of my Christmas music. So yeah,
Nice.
so I'm just really like I have to be really regimented. I'm kind of sleep deprived right now because I've been on the road. That
Yeah.
you really have to watch everything. You have to.
Are you on the road a lot?
I'm on the road a lot, and
You
like I,
are.
I
Yeah.
was flying to Richmond last week. It was supposed to be like a 6-hour flight. It ended up taking me 36 hours
Did it really?
to go from LA to Richmond.
Well, was there more than one flight? Like I just went to California, Nevada, Fort Lauderdale, and Texas for television
Mhm.
shoots and news projects and all. And with these layovers, with the shifting of the planes, with no nonstops anywhere,
Yeah, the no
it could
nonstops,
take
and
you.
I got stuck in Dallas because my plane was like 5 minutes late coming in, and they couldn't wait 5 minutes for
They
the
won't
next
wait.
thing. Thanks, American. You know, and I'm a gold member, and they treat me like that. Um,
And he's a gold member.
yeah, well, I'm not platinum, so I'm
Oh,
not good
well,
enough for them.
yes. But if
Um,
you sang a new jingle for them, maybe they would.
American Airlines. Um,
Doing what we do best.
right.
See, we remember that stuff.
We do. But yeah, anyway, I got stuck in Dallas and then there was no flight the next day to go anywhere near Richmond or Newport News or Norfolk until like 9 o'clock that night, going through three other airports. So they finally got me to DC and I had to rent a car, which they wouldn't pay for, and I had to drive, and I was already exhausted, and I had to drive 250 miles, and it was the only way to do it. And so you're on the road, you have to solve problems, and I get there in time to greet my fans, to sign the autographs, to screen the film, and do the Q&A, and be on point for that. So that's the nature of showbiz. And the thing is, oh, and another cool person was there was Tom Arnold. He was
Oh,
really
yeah, sure,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And also the uh, John Provost from Lassie. He was there, and Carolyn. I forget.
Love to get him on the show,
They
yeah.
should get John and Carolyn Grimes, who was the little tiniest little girl in It's a Wonderful Life with
Yeah.
Donna
You know who's
Reed.
coming on the show? It's in about a week. Larry Matthews.
Oh, there
Richie
you
from the
go.
Dick Van Dyke Show.
Sure. You should
Yeah.
get DVD himself. I did a set with Dick Van Dyke at the Malibu Chili
Oh,
Cook-Off.
Dick Van Dyke actually is one of my top people that I would love to, and I was this close to, an interview for a public television special, um, and something had happened where we were gonna go from here to Boston, Boston to LA a couple years ago, but he got called away because Disney was celebrating his 90th birthday. So everything got shifted and changed and everything else. And he had to do the whole Disney thing for the 90th birthday. So that part didn't happen. And I think some voiceover stuff was done, but it was for a public television special. And this close,
Oh,
he's just one of those fabulous people.
he's
It's
so good.
extraordinary. Dick Van Dyke,
When
Norman
I
Lear, Mel
performed
Brooks,
I
these
performed with
guys.
my cabaret band in Malibu, at the Malibu Chili Cook-Off a few years ago, and then we asked Dick Van Dyke was there, and we asked him to come up after that, and he did Supercalifragilis in his 90s, doing the dance and everything,
He's
and
unbelievable.
with extreme fluidity and
Yeah, like a rubber band. Yeah,
And
like
that
he was
sort
still
of
doing Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
proves that if you keep moving, keep moving,
Yes,
don't
he
stop.
always has moved. Yes, all those trips over that hassock on the Dick Van Dyke Show actually paid off.
It really did.
Why do you love doing what you do, Chris? What
Why
is
do I
it in
love
you?
it?
What are those blessings and joys in your life that keep you going?
I mean, I do it because why do I love it? If my mom instilled it in me, if I knew anything better to do, I would do it. I mean, I could have been a lawyer. I don't think I would have been happy. Um, sure, there's a lot of fighting to get where you need to be in show business, but it's a different kind of fight. It's an inward fight. It's about passion. It's about reaching for the stars. I do it because it's just who I am, and there's nothing else that I could possibly do with my life that would make any sense to me, and I'm the one who has to live with me. So I don't really care. People say, "Oh, why do why don't you want to live a normal life?" Well, what's a normal life? I mean, I've been on the road since I was 16, 15, I don't know. And it's what I
Working
love.
it since you were 3.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I mean, literally traveling, to
Actual, real,
gigs,
yeah.
and what I love is being immersed in new environments. When
Yes.
I travel to Europe, and I've toured Europe as a tenor with Simone Bertoloso and Domenica Zamara, who
Mm.
are really well known singers over there. And
What was that like for you?
wow, what was that? It was
Mm.
incredible.
Yeah.
Finding myself in these scenarios where I mean, I got this message on Facebook from these people one day. You come Verona, Italy, we make concert. I'm like, what? Send a
What's
And after the third message, and I didn't have much going on at the time. I thought, well, I'm going to Europe.
I'm headed to Italy.
Yeah,
Yes.
and somebody was saying, she's like, oh, what if it's a hoax? I'm like, well, if it's a hoax, I know how to use a hotel, a rental car, an airline, a train, a taxi cab, and I have several credit cards, and I'm going to go. And I have friends all around Europe. I'm going to go have fun.
Yes.
So anyway, I booked my flight, and I wind up in Verona, Italy, and my friend, who's now my friend, Simone, meets me there. He doesn't speak any English. I don't speak any Italian at the time, and somehow we're communicating with each other. And the
Mm.
next morning, I find myself. He takes me to I didn't even understand what was going on because I couldn't understand the language. But it's like 10:30 in the morning, but it turned out to be some kind of bachelor party.
Ah.
And then we go from the bachelor party but I still didn't even know it was a bachelor party. It was just everybody's drinking and partying at 10:30 in the morning. I'm like, okay, this is what they do in Italy. So then we go to a church, and there I meet this soprano, and they give me some classical pieces in Latin to sing, like the Cesar Franck Panis Angelicus, which is bread of the angels, and I'm having to sight read this stuff. And I think it's some rehearsal or whatever. I'm not quite sure because nobody speaks any English at that time, and I don't speak any Italian. Now everybody speaks English, and I speak a little Italian. But it turned out there was a wedding right away, and the guy from the bachelor party was the groom.
Mm.
And we sing, very contritely and religiously at this wedding, and afterwards it is a very short ceremony. They turn around and they're walking out and throwing the rice, and my friend Simone goes, hold on, in audience. He points to me and he goes, Lui imparati di Caraibi, which means that he, pointing to me, was in Pirates of the Caribbean. I'm mortified because the attention is supposed to be on the bride and groom, not me. And I have a bit little part in Pirates of the Caribbean 3. It's a little bit part. It's nothing. The cool thing is I got to sing on the soundtrack with Hans Zimmer. um,
Hans
in the
Zimmer,
opening
another,
part,
yeah.
where of
Oh,
three,
yeah.
where they're going to the gallows to be hanged. But all of a sudden, all eyes were on me, and I'm like part of the wedding party now. It was hysterical, and they start parading me around Europe, and we do this like from small concerts to big concerts, and it was like the musicians of Bremen, and I got to go to Poland and Eastern
Cool.
Europe, and then we brought the show back to Los Angeles in a grand tour finale, and it was called Mystique. And we had a fabulous orchestra conducted by Steve Bernstein, who is the composer. He and his wife composed all the music for Animaniacs
Mm-hmm.
for Steven Spielberg. Maria Newman was the concert master. Her husband Scott was on viola. My sister Allison was on harp. Sarah Endon on flute. Paula Hochhalter on cello, and the incomparable Dolores Stevens on piano. And we put together this little orchestra band and knocked it out of the park. We filled up the Warner Grand, and um, it was stuff. It's stuff like that that makes my heart sing. Like singing with a live orchestra is one of the best feelings in the world, and that silent communication with the conductor. Like I have to visually indicate what I'm trying to do with my eyes and hope they understand and follow and get the orchestra to go along. And that it's that real time working of it that put me in the moment, and I will, work it. Uh,
Exactly. Yeah.
we
I
did
know how that is. Yeah.
Jason Robert Brown's "The Shmuel Song,"
Oh,
which,
yeah.
yeah, if you guys want to see stuff, look up my name, Chris Allport, the Shmuel Song, Schmuel, and you'll find a excerpt from that performance. And what I love about the Shmuel Song, it's this like 8-minute piece, and Jason Robert Brown has developed this fabulous allegory about that. It's not about the time that you spend in your life, it's how you spend it. And
Yeah.
even if you feel like you've misspent it doing things too much for other people and not for yourself, if you turn inwards and focus on yourself and what you want, you can turn that clock backward. It's pretty powerful.
It's very true. I've had to learn to do that as somebody who's always about others and was raised to be about others and love thy neighbor and help thy fellow man. And we've talked about that a lot on this show, but I have learned to put the oxygen mask on me first on the plane, then help others with theirs, when I was always on that plane saying, that's selfish, that's rude. How can they
Yeah.
even say such a thing?
I
Grab it and put it on you first, then help. No, no, no. I'm going to help that woman next to me or that guy next to me. He's struggling. Then I'll put mine on. But if you don't have the oxygen for you, you can't help
you
others.
know you
And
know
they have to put it on themselves first too.
Jim, I used to be a person who would always help others first, to the point where
First,
I
right.
became burnt out.
That happens.
And
Yes.
but the lesson that I've learned in the past decade, because I was just really, 10, 15 years ago, just working as a video and audio recording, more technical, not artist. And Maria Newman said to me, she said, Chris, you're a great artist. We want to do something with you. Nobody had said that to me before. And when I heard that, and my dear friend, Dr. Grayheck said, he called me maestro. And I realized I don't know what I did, but I had evoked some kind of emotion in him. And
Yes.
they were respecting me in a way that I hadn't learned yet to respect myself. And I picked up on that and I said, wow, this is going to be an expensive 10 years coming up,
It's
because
going to be.
I could no longer, I realized after trying to keep serving clients and serve myself, and I did this music festival in upstate New York as a producer, multimedia producer, the video and the audio. And then I handed in the score to them that I wanted the orchestra to play. I turned in the score called Through the Windows on a Train, which I wrote, huge orchestral piece, off the chart kind of thing. And the executive producer goes, why is the video guy giving us a score? Oh, really? I'm just the video guy? I was doing music before you were born. You know, like, but that pigeonholing kind of, like, there are a lot of people, it's not just me, who are multifaceted,
Correct.
that have developed multiple disciplines, not just
Which
one.
is a
I'm
good
not the
thing.
only
Yeah.
one. You are an example.
Yeah.
That you have to do it because, not because they taught you in college, but because it's just the way your life went. And this is what you're going to do. And there is no other choice, and there is no other path other than to collect each skill as best you possibly can and deliver at the right time.
That's exactly right. Yeah. That's beautifully said. It's so very, very true. Because we're in a world now where everything is very niche. Just do that and just stay in that lane. And like you say,
But think about why that
we were
is.
trained to do a lot of different things. Wear many
Why
hats.
why do you think they tell us to stay in our lane?
Well, that's a whole other episode.
I
You
don't
are
even
you
know.
are coming to us from Washington, D.C. tonight.
We are live here in Washington. I wish I
Yeah.
was out on the mall, but I didn't have any lights.
Speaking of lanes and heavy traffic, that
But
is
but
true.
no, I really think that we're living really in a corporatocracy
Yeah, right now it
where
is.
and they're literally
Overly
I've noticed that
sensitive
the
and
master's of business degree is very narrow minded, and it sort of uh, takes it acquires talent without really understanding what that talent is, and then repackages it and sells it, and there's not the proper value assigned to it,
correct.
and we are being in some ways pigeonholed, because it just seems cost effective for the powers that be, but with all the new media that we have access to, we get to say what we want. You can fine if you're working for the big three, then negotiate exactly what they want you to say and get paid for it and move on. But in this format, I'm going to tell you that my truth. I'm going to tell it to you, and I'm not really going to hold back. And if people don't like it, I don't care.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, it's one of the reasons I think, in addition to staying, connected with everybody, at the beginning of the pandemic, and working in television, radio, and stage and film all these years, um, creating this scenario. If I don't show up, there's no show. If I don't feel like doing it, there's no show.
Yeah.
Who's coming on? I'll decide. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What's it all about? Right here. The buck stops here. The executive producer, the host. And what's the flavor? This show, I want the show to inspire, uplift, entertain, connect, have fun, all these things, poignant moments, deep moments, but at the same time reflect almost sort of the essence of who I am as a person through everything that is happening on the show. And you don't always get a chance to do that
But
sometimes when you're in a structured world.
it's so much more honest. Like the conversation that we're having right now, and just getting to chat with you with not your on air personality, but chat with you, is very meaningful to me. I'm giving you my not on personality, uh, because I'm not on.
Right.
It's just me.
Exactly.
I'm unvarnished right now, and
Right. Right.
if somebody doesn't like it, you can see me varnished later. I mean,
Exactly.
it's like,
Right.
we are human. We are human beings, and I think that is really important. In Emily or Oscar, the humanity became really a big deal. Go back to my screen for a minute. Yeah, because
Oh yeah. Yeah. The
this
post.
guy, and Caroline, I don't know if you're watching or if you'll see this, but this is my dear collaborator, Ishmael Lots, and he and I started Emily or Oscar, and sadly we lost him earlier this year. And that's kind of how precious, and he and I are very close in age, um, but how precious the humanity is, and we stayed focused on having fun and really developing this project, because it's what we wanted to do and what we had to say. And he kind of plays the Faustian devil, who's like the kind of the Douglas Fairbanks character in the film. But I just really wanted to honor him and take that moment, while we're talking about the humanity of it.
Very important and beautifully said. Absolutely. You know who's been enjoying this conversation? He always pops in at any time, sometimes in the beginning, the middle, the later part, whenever. Mr. George Burns is with us.
I don't have one of those dolls.
This was a collectible that my aunt collected dolls, and I mean a whole like room filled with all kinds of dolls. collected the George Burns when he turned that magic number. And with his cigar and his pocket square, we always show it. We did a nostalgic show 2 years ago, and the audience fell in love with it. All the lovedies fell in love with him. And he pops on. He said, "You knocked it out of the park, kiddo. Thoroughly enjoyed the conversation, this episode of the Jim Masters Show, and
then he
send
said,
you lots of blessings and joys from him and from Gracie." And of course, he played God in the movie, so you got God on your side too.
"Say good night, Gracie."
That's exactly
And
right.
then Gracie would say, "Good night, Gracie."
So you got love coming your way from George Burns, and
Appreciate you.
on the opposite end of the spectrum, Gilligan from Gilligan's Island as well.
Love him.
Bob Denver
Yeah, there you go.
came from his wife Dreama, who was a
And
guest on our show. She was
greetings
fabulous.
to the Schwartzes who helped create that show.
Yes, we had Lloyd Schwartz on. He was amazing. Really, really great conversation about all the great music, the underscoring, the shows and everything. Of course, for folks watching, son of Sherwood Schwartz, created the Brady Bunch and all these shows, iconic shows. I hope the show met whatever expectations you had and you enjoyed the time with me as much as I have with you, Chris.
It exceeded my expectations. I've done a few of these things that have been all right, but you have exceeded because I didn't really come in expecting anything, but I'm really honored to have a chat with you, Jim. That's just straightforward and, as I said, unvarnished. And look forward to connecting with you again, and maybe we can get you on the red carpet next year to interview some of the Emily or Oscar people.
That sounds really good. And spread the word about our series. And as my father has always said, whenever anybody says, and he said this when we were kids too, and still, whenever somebody says something kind or nice to you, ask them to please put that in writing and address it management.
I agree. I tell people, please, go on Apple Music, go on Amazon Music. If you listen to my Christmas record, please like it. Please.
Yes. Give us the name of it again.
It's called Arise Awake, O Christmas Day. And it's just O, not OH. Like Arise Awake, O Christmas Day. Or look up Christopher M. Allport. You'll find me. You'll also find Allport, The Prayer. You'll find a version of the David Foster song, The Prayer, that I did with Arngrim.
Oh, very nice. Stephen Kalender says, love the show. Thank
you,
you, Steve.
I mean, as I said, Stevie's a national treasure, so watch his episode. Welcome, Kathleen.
Oh, yeah. Everybody's sending all of their some of our lovedies here. This has been a blast. Thanks for being here with us this evening. Chris, isn't Jim the best host? Thank you, Maureen in Arizona. Really appreciate that.
Jim is the best host. And, I was just honored to be here at Lovety Hall.
That's exactly right. You got it. Lovety Hall for sure, my friend. And here is again also allproductions.com. Check out the website and a myriad of incredible things they're working on. Emily and Oscar, is that going across the country?
It's been going around the world in sort of like what
around
I call
the world.
festival year. We've won over 54 awards that you can look on IMDb. And so we're kind of taking our time going from festival to festival and doing these individual presentations. And then next year, we'll probably have some really cool Blu-ray product here, which is this really beautiful 4K edition. This was shot in digital 35 millimeter, and it's stunningly beautiful. It doesn't look like an indie film. It looks like a studio picture from the old days with the big, wide 24 millimeter wide shots, like Stanley Kubrick widescreen.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's great. Ms. Pat in Texas, thanks for watching, Ms. Pat. She said, would you please repeat the title of the album, the Christmas album?
It's called Arise, Awake, O Christmas Day.
Fantastic.
I don't know if you can put that on the screen or not.
Yes, let's see if there's a way we can do that. Your dad says, great fun, guys. Absolutely. Of course, spread the word to all who you think would love to join us here on the Jim Masters Show as a guest. We don't put a time limit. If they only have 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, whatever. But I let it roll for as long as the guest wants to chat. And, because a lot of times people go in talk shows and it's 10 minutes, book, movie, CD, out. And there's no time to really get, a feeling. I like things that where there's
I,
a
I, I
feeling.
I like the feeling too. It's kind of more authentic to me. Oh yeah, there it
Jennifer
is.
Seed to the
Yeah,
rescue. There she
thank
is.
you.
Arise, awake, oh Christmas Day. There
Yeah,
you go, Miss Pat in Texas, and she thanks Jennifer.
and
Perfect. So
and it's
put it up there again.
EmilyOrOscar.com. You can find that one. Emily or
EmilyOrOscar.com.
Oscar. It's Emily or Oscar because it's the decision between Emily or winning the Oscar.
Oh, that's great. So that's what it is.
Yeah.
And that's cool. So it is traveling around the world.
Yeah, we were in Barcelona last month. Um,
And we have
we
viewers in Barcelona too. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and it's really
Coming up to the Northeast at all between Philadelphia and Boston?
well, we've been in Philly. We've been in New Hope, Pennsylvania. We've been in Hagerstown, Maryland. There
Any
will
New
hopefully,
York, Boston, anything north of New York?
yeah, I'm working on it. It's
Good.
it's a process. So, and if you have any, if you want a private screening, we'll go put in a private screening for you.
Perfect.
So, we're taking it around. We're on tour.
Now, I'd be remiss to not do a full circle, and because I said it in the introduction that you were just with Eric Estrada and
Mhm.
Morgan Fairchild and Jerry Reichelt. Tell us about that. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, so there's this really cool, and there's probably a few pictures on Facebook that just popped up from this past couple of days. It's a really cool thing put on by Martin Grams, who puts on the Mid Atlantic Nostalgia Convention, and that's usually in Maryland. But he took over this Williamsburg, Virginia Nostalgia Convention this year, and um, they have all these like TV personalities from the past 20, 30 years come and they're signing autographs and
Yeah.
taking photos and there's vendors with selling all kinds of cool merch. And I'm just really grateful that Martin and also my collaborative partners here in Washington, Barbara Rue and Mark Rue, they have really helped promote the film at these festivals and these nostalgia conventions. And what's cool, because Emily or Oscar is a love letter to old Hollywood, that even though it's a new film, we have Susan Blakely in it, who won a Golden Globe in 1979 for, I think, The Towering Inferno.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Remember that?
she
Yes.
plays the role of my agent in the film. So it's a very self-reflexive kind of like um, what was that movie that was like a film within a film? Inception.
Yes.
And it just these layers and layers and layers of looking in the mirror and the mirror and the mirror. And
Yeah.
Julie or Oscar has a lot of that, and you have to pay attention. If you put it on in the background, you're going to have to watch it again. And if you watch it on a really nice screen and sound, and it just moves you from like the movement is all reads like a storybook. It's always moving from left to right, and the page turns, and it feels like that. So we have Susan Blakely, Susan Boyd Joyce, who's the Fonz's girlfriend on Happy Days for a season. Gene Russell has a cameo, Margaret the Dennis the Menace. Of course, Steve Kalinich as the prophet / D.W. Griffith character. And of course, our beloved Ishmael, who we lost as the Douglas Fairbanks mysterious gentleman character. And he's kind of the antagonist to my protagonist.
How
So
cool
it's
is
really
that, huh?
it's just so much fun. I mean, I did it because it was in my psyche and it had to come out. And
Yeah.
it's a nod to where it is that we came from and the cinema style that thank you, Maureen. It's the cinema style that we are used to, the aesthetic of where that came from, which was Mary Pickford and Douglas Fairbanks and Chaplin and Griffith. That is why we understand movies the way we do, because they created these shots in a way. And if you look at movies before that, you find that the shots don't always make sense. Jen and I were looking at Dracula, the original Dracula, a couple of weeks ago, and we saw shots that don't make any sense
Yeah.
compared to our modern aesthetic.
Right.
These cutaways without, say, a shoulder in the foreground, a blurred out shoulder, and it took time to develop that style, so the audience feels connected from a perspective point. And when you do that in 35 millimeter with prime lenses,
Mm-hmm.
that and you know exactly where to put the shoulder in the frame. That's not actually the person speaking. It's the over the shoulder shot, or know when to go to that wide shot. By the way, the wide shots are much more difficult to do than close ups.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Yes.
they're only used for a few seconds, but to do that wide shot, you're grounded in with boots on the ground. You feel like where you're at.
Exactly
You know,
right. It's cool. There's so much that goes into all of this. I've been on 15-hour shoots for just a 30-second commercial.
yeah.
People don't realize what it takes to do even the slightest things in any of these industries and all that
Emily,
goes into it.
Emily or Oscar is a 1 hour 59-minute film. It's a full length feature, and we shot it mostly in under 2 years until COVID came and knocked everything down. And I still had about 4 or 5% of the movie yet left to shoot.
Mm,
And we had to wait for the vaccines and to get the
get everything
the thing going again, because what we needed was the cabaret scene and we needed people in the room.
right.
So I moved the cabaret scene outside, and once we got the first vaccines and we got it in the can.
Cool
But
stuff.
to so essentially what was supposed to be 2 years became four. And but it's okay, um, because if the film is 2 hours long, which is uh, 120 minutes, right? And each second of film has 24 still frames in it. Film is 24 frames per second. That's a lot of still pictures.
Yeah.
You do the math.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And everything has to be perfect. And if it doesn't work, you
Yeah.
have to go back and do it again. It can't be good enough. You have to go back and do it again. And that's what filmmaking is. You do it until it's right, until everybody's flowing. The tech people are flowing. Also, a big shout out to Bob McCall, my cinematographer, who's like a brother to me. Cassara Clark, who played Emily, her mom. Cynthia Lee Clark played Emily's mom in the film. So it was really cool. And everybody who helped cross the finish line on it. And I'm looking forward to sharing it with with you all as we make it around the festivals, and hopefully next year we'll be able to have these available for you.
Very nice.
We have it on streaming.
Very, very nice. This was fantastic, my friend. Thanks for stopping by Lovety Hall and the Jim Masters Show Live series. Again, truly terrific conversation on many different levels and a lot of different areas that we've talked about. And, but it's all linked together, beautifully threaded together with our fabulous viewers watching internationally. Great conversation. And we're going to keep that porch light on for you. You're welcome back to the Jim Masters Show Live series at any time. Spread the word about our show to other folks you think might like to pop on. They're all welcome. And it was a delight to have you on the show. And hopefully we'll be chatting again real soon.
Pleasure's mine, Jim, and best wishes. And thank you for being such positive light and energy in this world. We only need it right now.
I really appreciate that. And as you said that, did your light just get brighter on you?
Something like that happened.
As you were saying, bright light and inspiration, look what happened. That might have been a divine intervention live on our show. See,
I
there's
love
a
it.
reason for everything. Either that or you timed that so beautifully.
I didn't touch anything. I did not. I mean, I do not have a lighting board here. If I were in
It
my
got
studio,
brighter
I
as you were
would.
saying that. As you were saying that, I tell you, a little divine
Well,
intervention.
I mean, one other quick little story. We were filming in Death Valley with Stevie,
Oh, Death Valley, yes.
and there was this cool little old theater, which was on the walls, hand painted by Marta Beckett, who was a New York ballet dancer that came out west, broke down in Death Valley Junction, and never left. She put her ballet company in there, and she painted these beautiful Commedia dell'arte characters on the walls. She passed away about a year before we filmed there.
Mm,
As a very old woman,
yeah.
and we had all this high tech gear, which we're very well connected with and know really well, and there shouldn't be any problems. Every time we panned the camera to where Stevie was sitting in the audience, right next to the ballet costume of Marta Beckett in the theater, which was left in her favorite spot, the camera would get hazy right around Marta. We
Wow.
changed cameras, we changed recorders, we changed hard disk drives, we changed cables. No matter what we did, every time we pointed the camera to that area of the theater where Marta's ballet outfit sat on the seat in the audience where she would direct the shows from, these interesting lines. And Bob, my cinematographer, is like, "What are we going to do, Chris?" I'm like, "We're going to use it," because it was a very surreal scene anyway. And that's what we did. So,
That's so incredible, huh?
yeah, it's divine. You just,
Or as John Davidson would say, that's incredible.
that's incredible.
He was on our show a couple of times. He's fantastic.
Yeah.
Just really, I don't know if you know what he's done in his semi-retirement. He lives in New Hampshire. Well, now he's on his boat in Mexico. It's fall and winter's coming, but he's got a little thing going that's pretty cool. We went up to it last year. He's got this little place called Club Sandwich, which is located in Sandwich, New Hampshire. And it's a little place, sort of like a real New England white building next to a restaurant, a little town in the Lakes region. And he brings in all kinds of talent and performers. And it's from about April through October. I mean, comedians, guitarists. He performs on the weekend. He comes in on a swing. Of course, there's all this John Davidson paraphernalia, pictures and all kinds of cool things of his career. But it's really, and all kinds of funky chairs and couches, mix match, and it's very warm. And he opened it a year or so ago, Club Sandwich. And it's really, really cool. And he's having the time of his life. Then he wraps up the season the end of October. He was a guest on the show a couple of times, wraps up the season, and then he goes on his boat in Mexico because his son, I believe, and daughter-in-law and the kids live in Mexico. So he spends the time on the boat in Mexico and then comes back to New England, New Hampshire in April and opens up Club Sandwich in Sandwich, New Hampshire. Kind of cool, huh?
I love that. I've got to get up there and check out Club Sandwich.
Tell him I sent you. Yes. Yeah, he was really, that episode is on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV, so you can see it. And the last time he was on, he was hilarious. He was playing guitar and he was singing and he was doing the whole thing. Just really a great guy. And Tony Orlando too. Tony Orlando stopped by and he's still doing his thing. You know what I mean? This is real staying power, these folks.
Yeah, they really do. As I mentioned before, the longevity and the ability to be flexible and go with the flow. When they need you to do something, you find a way to change.
Right.
Another person who's been really flexible and a great teacher and mentor to me is Alita Braxton. You might want to talk to her sometime. She sings with LA Opera as well.
Oh, yeah.
All sorts of, background vocals, and she worked on Emily or Oscar, and she's worked on both sides of the camera as well. So these people who are really just able to work in different environments and switch gears quickly and be on target.
Yeah.
That's what magic is. So,
that's what it is.
Yeah.
You've done that. I do it. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like Marilyn says, even Casper.
Yeah. I mean, people are like, "Oh, wow, how did you get that?" Well, I don't know. I went to an audition that my agent sent me on at, it was in, what's one of those big ad agencies from the 90s? Foot Cone and Belding, something like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It was
William Morris and all
Yeah,
those.
and it was down there in Wilshire, and going to this big building. I'm a little kid. They're like, "Here, read this." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I have this little voice, and I did the Toodles voice, and they, it fit. It just fit. I wasn't modifying myself. It just fit, and that's when you get cast. It's when you're not working too hard at doing something. You just fit the project.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Sometimes when you want it and you want it and you want it and you want it and you want it, and if you don't get it, the world stops when that's really not the case. And sometimes when you just don't expect it and the phone rings, what have you, and there is this opportunity, like the people that said, "Hey, we want you to come to Italy."
Yeah. I mean,
Packed a bag, got a plane flight, and you went.
I could have turned it down. There was no contract. But by the way, I sold so many records that it all made up for itself. And then
Right.
I got on contract after that. But if I hadn't have taken the risk,
That's the key.
it never would have happened. And the thing is, I'm a person who will take calculated risks, and I won't always win, but I will take risks, because artistic risks and travel risks, because it enriches my life.
Beautifully said.
So,
Beautifully said. This was, again, a terrific conversation. You're welcome back anytime, and spread the word. And congratulations on all the fabulous things. Allportproductions.com, a great place to go. And Chris, this was terrific. And thanks for spending the time with us. 2 hours, 15 minutes went by in a New
whew,
York minute.
just like that.
I hope you ate dinner already.
Oh no, we're
Oh yeah, I
this
know.
is-
I should always, I forget to tell the West Coast folk, but you're in DC, right? And you haven't eaten yet?
No, we're gonna. We've been traveling all day,
Yeah,
so
you've been traveling. A
yeah,
lot of times if the guests
we're at
come from,
Monticello seeing the ghost of Thomas Jefferson, and
yeah, that's right. You were
so,
telling
I
me
mean,
that.
this is cool stuff because I love all the American history stuff. I'm
Oh
a huge
yeah.
American history fan. And
The East Coast is
European.
so great for all of that,
Yeah,
from Maine down to Florida. There's
yeah.
so much richness to to American history. I always try to remind the West Coast folk, have some dinner before you pop on, or have a snack nearby
Yeah.
if you have a lot to say and you want to have a good conversation. But as we did here
I've
on
got
this
I've
episode.
got staying power and stamina. I'll eat when I'm dead. No, I'll rest when I'm dead. I'll eat tonight.
That's right. Or like Carl Reiner always said, remember that fabulous line? He would wake up in the morning, he would check the obituary page. If he's not in the obituary page, he'll have breakfast.
Hey, exactly. He did. He was the host of the Young Musicians Foundation dinners at Merv Griffin's Beverly Hilton, and about, I don't know, for like say around 1994 or something, he fell on stage and broke his leg, and I think Rob had to come up on stage and take over. But then every year after that, he's like, I checked the obituaries and I wasn't in it, so I had breakfast. But then I came here and it reminded me, this is the very place I fell 10 years ago. I broke my leg, and and it was always that joke every time.
Always.
He was a sweetheart.
That's it. I know. We lost him not that long ago.
Yeah.
God bless Carl. All right, Chris, this was fantastic. You enjoy the rest of your day, and enjoy the time there in DC. Get some sleep, and we'll talk again real soon. All right, my friend?
Thanks, Jim. Talk to you soon.
A real pleasure. You take care and be well.
Good night.
Cheers. Cheers. Chris Allport joining us here, gracing us with his wit and wisdom on the Jim Masters Show. Yes, we hope you enjoyed it. We went in so many different fantastic directions, talking about a lot of different things about life and entertainment, all the people he's had an opportunity to work with in film and television and music, including Barbara Streisand, and legendary people and people he's working with now. Of course, Emily and Oscar, another fantastic production that has toured around the world that he's involved in, and look for that as well. And the Christmas CD, and again, actor, tenor, voice artist, director, producer, composer. Lots of incredible titles there, but he loves all of it. And this was great having him on the show. I do want to immediately tell you that tomorrow, wow, these are all, every show is a knockout. And with you here, it makes it even better. We thank Chris for joining us. Chris Allport, fantastic actor, tenor, voice artist, director, producer. Chris Allport joining us. Casper joined us as well. And all the other characters that he's done. If you joined us late, he does a lot of voices of animated characters and so much more. He's a wonderful performer, producer, tenor. Yes, he's toured the world. He's a musician, and is a good friend of our show, and we love that. That really tops all of it. There's some more right there. We didn't show these earlier, but there's Emily or Oscar right there. And there is the website, emilyoroscar.com. So you can go there to check out about Emily or Oscar, and if it's coming to a place near you. And there's some other projects that they've worked on. And there's our special guest. Now, tomorrow, boy, do we have some. We've got another incredible guest coming on, a real musical legend, David Carr Jr., saxophonist, composer extraordinaire. He's going to be with us. Lots of great music, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, exclusively right here, coming to you from Lovety Hall, the Jim Masters Show. This is going to be a cool episode. And on Wednesday, yes, she starred in My Perfect Wedding, lots of movies, shows, commercials. Erica Hubbard is going to be with us, actress, humanitarian, and much more. Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific on the Jim Masters Show. Just some of the guests that are coming up. And if you were yesterday, just a quick reminder, we had an extraordinary legend with us. Rita Rudner, comedy legend and author, was here with her wit, her wisdom, a new book, and she had her dog Betsy in her arms during the first part of our conversation. Rita Rudner, legend in the comedy world, also was a phenomenal Broadway dancer, and on Broadway well before the comedy world came knocking at her door. That was such a great conversation. She and I spoke today. She loved being on our show, and I loved having her on, and it was terrific. So Rita was with us yesterday. If you didn't see the episode, you can see it archived. All the episodes are saved on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. And again, you enjoyed this episode, had fun with us today. Thank you very much. Take it one step further. Give us a like. Give us a thumbs up on our YouTube channel. There's a thumbs up icon. Leave a comment on the YouTube channel as well. Yes, we loved having Rita with us here on the Jim Masters Show. Leave a comment for us, yes, on the channel itself. Even if you've chatted in the JMS Lovety chat room, leave a comment on the YouTube channel. We love that. That helps us grow even further. And give this a like. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Really important. Thanks to everybody who has subscribed, who's showing the Lovety, who's telling us they really, really enjoy this unique series and these cool things we're doing here at Lovety Hall on the Jim Masters Show series. We appreciate every single person who has subscribed since day one. Those who just subscribed this week, last month, last year, 2 minutes ago, or you just subscribed right now. Thank you so very much as we build our Lovety family, viewers and fans of our series from all around the world. Bruce, who's Chris's dad, we got thumbs up from Dad. Super job, Jim. Thank you. That's not so easy to say. Super job, Jim. Can you say that 5 times? Super job, Jim. 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 I did it. Super, but I can't say it once. Super job, Jim, from Bruce. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I hope you'll spread the word, Bruce, about our show to everybody you know. Tell them to join us, subscribe to the channel, enjoy all this coolness that we have here. And we appreciate you being here as well, supporting Chris and our show as well. Thank you again. And Sherry Larson, thank you and everybody. Great show tonight. Relax. We are going to relax. I haven't had dinner yet. I have a spaghetti dinner waiting for me. It is 9:30 in the evening and I haven't eaten. Here I always make sure, Mr. Caretaker here, Mr. Lovety, right? Making sure the guests have eaten already. Chris is going to eat now. He hasn't eaten yet. I haven't eaten either. It's been so busy. I haven't had anything other than toast and coffee at 8 a.m. this morning. Not good. I know, not good. Don't tell my mother. Don't tell my folks in Florida. Don't tell them. They're watching. Actually, they said they're watching tonight. The family's watching. What am I talking about? Uh-oh. Secret revealed. Yes, folks, I didn't have anything to eat today other than the toast and the coffee. I know. We're going to make up for that right now. We're making up for that right now. We're going to have that big dinner. And I won't go to bed for a while because you can't go to bed after eating. That's not too good. You'll need Tums the rest of the night. Jen Barry from Pennsylvania, from Allentown. Jim, thank you for your personal time. Thank you that you put your show together for all of us. Love and appreciate you. Thank you very much, Jen Barry, representing the Keystone State, Pennsylvania, USA. Lovely state, fabulous place. Been there many times, and we love it there. And Christine Clifton, terrific show. Good night, Jim. All Loveties, fun times in Lovety Hall, reporting from North Carolina, USA. Maureen is just eating too, but it's only 7 o'clock here. She's in Arizona, and you guys are great. Thanks for all the great comments, lovities commenting, and those lovities that watch but don't comment necessarily in here. Do leave a comment for us on our YouTube channel. We really would appreciate that. Of course, wonderful lovity Kathleen Walker here. Thank you, Jim. Have a great night. Sleep well. Good night, all. Again, we're doing the show live, so that's why we're saying night. But if you're watching this later and it's morning or afternoon, or if you're in Australia, it's already tomorrow, or, we have all these different time zones and all different times people watch our series. Whatever time it is, we're just happy you're here. And we thank you very much for being here. Now go get on top of Mount Everest with a bullhorn and tell everybody, I love the Jim Masters show. And everybody should watch it and support it and celebrate it and all the rest. Bon appetit, Ms. Pat. So Ms. Pat is also eating now too. Well, she's in Texas, so she's about an hour back from where we are. You're eating spaghetti right now. Wow. Great minds think alike. Yeah, we're having that. Good stuff. Have a great dinner, Jim. Good night, everyone. Now, she's getting ready almost for breakfast. Jane in Sweden, where it's 3:30 a.m. She's a trooper. She's a trooper. I think she takes naps in the day, so that way she can be with us live, in the evening when we broadcast our show here from the United States and the New York area. Wow, a lot of late eaters today, huh? I'm just eating dinner now, 9:30 p.m. in North Carolina. I am like many, not eating or sleeping enough. And Maureen wants to know, Kathleen, I assumed you've eaten. I'm assuming you have eaten, Kathleen. Have you, Kathleen? Kathleen, did you already eat? If not, go grab something. Go get some New York pizza. All right, we're going to wrap up. We thank Chris for being here. We thank you for being here. My name is Jim Masters, and the name of the show is the Jim Masters Show Live Entertainment Lifestyle Variety Talk Show Series. Whew, but you can just call it the Jim Masters Show. It's easy breezy that way. And Jane never eats breakfast. And Kathleen already ate, and she had Chinese. It's 9:30 at night where you are as well here on the East Coast. Good thing you ate your Chinese earlier. At 9:30 at night, eating Chinese and then going to bed. Ugh. Oh, how do we find this in the archives later? Right on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. That's the channel that you're on right now, Bruce. So this episode archived on our YouTube channel, which is Jim Masters TV. And you can check out all the episodes there. Everything is there for you. We're approaching something like 900 in just 2.5 years, which is a lot of shows. I mean, that's like world record stuff. And let's see if we can maybe pull this up. We're doing maybe we can pull that up. That would be kind of cool. You can see, well, you guys are on the channel right now, but here we go right here. Let's see if we can pull that up. See, there's the channel right there, our YouTube channel. See, it says Chris right there. And of course, there's past episodes right there. If you want to see past episodes, you have this section right here that says all upcoming and past episodes of the Jim Masters Show Live Entertainment Lifestyle Talk Show Series. So in that section, you can see all the episodes like Chris tonight, David tomorrow, Erica, Tish coming up, Rita Rudner was last night. Scroll along. Dannon Green, the comedian, was here. Sheldon Elps was here, renowned television theater director, author. Nancy Harding, the brilliant, very, very popular film and television star, was here. Psychic, Peter Marks was here. Fane Frey, the dermatologist, was here. We had a fantastic skincare episode. And Doug Legacy was here. And the wonderful country music artist, Jessica Lynn. But if you click on that section, then everything is all there for you. See it? Everything is all the episodes. Yeah, Burt Ward from Batman and Ray Nesbitt from Celtic Woman. I mean, there's Jonathan Antoine, the brilliant, fantastic tenor. I mean, Eileen Kristen, daytime television star, all of these folks, on and on and on and on and on. It keeps going. Don't want to make you dizzy. But those are there in that section on our channel, which is Jim Masters TV on our YouTube channel. Kind of cool, huh? There you go. Little lesson on how to navigate things there for you. So Kathleen didn't feel like cooking, so she had the Chinese. Sherry understands that. You eat one cheeseburger a day. I love cheeseburgers. And Sherry Larson had a barbecue chicken strips. Nice. Well, you are there in Kansas, home to some very good barbecue. Nice. In Kansas or Missouri as well. Kansas and Missouri. Fabulous. We have relatives in Missouri. Yeah, several relatives from the East Coast and live in Missouri. Gang, we're going to wrap. All right. We got to eat. We haven't eaten in a while. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Jim Masters Show. Thanks for all the lovity. We really appreciate you guys being here. And we don't say goodbye around here. Leftover meatloaf for the fourth time, but it's gone. It's not easy cooking for only me. Although meatloaf is something you can stretch out, and it does. Yeah. I make a good meatloaf. I'm known for making a really good meatloaf because I like to be creative in the kitchen. I like to bring different ingredients together, and I like to be creative. So yeah, I'm known for a really good meatloaf and a couple of other cool things. All right. I think did we get everybody or as much as we can? What do we got? Jen says, Jim, why do they call them hamburgers when they are not made of ham? LOL. That's a good question. That's a very good question. Why did the teacher wear sunglasses in the classroom? Because she had such bright pupils. Yeah. I still remember that. I remember there was a book sale when I was in 6th grade in elementary school, and I used to like to get all the different kinds of books, but one of the books I would always get would be a joke book. And I still remember that joke from 6th grade. And I think somewhere in a box, I still have that joke book and riddles too. Riddles. Well, of course, that's kind of like one riddle. I still have the book. And for some reason, that one stands out. I just remember that one. And every once in a while I throw it in. Some people go, oh, that's corny. And some people laugh if they've never heard it before. It's all in how you, it's all about perspective and how you react. Great comeback. Snap. LOL. You got it. Your grandson's favorite joke. What do you call a cold canine? All right. What do you call a cold canine? Now we got to wait for the answer. Maureen has to type the answer in. I don't believe this is the answer. Meatloaf is so good, Jim. Make some for me and send it to me. I don't think that's the answer. I hope that's not the answer to the cold canine. Is it? No, it's a chili dog. Get it? Cold canine, a chili dog. I'm glad she didn't leave us hanging because I was hoping the dog wasn't the meatloaf, because then I don't know if we'll have dinner at Maureen's house. Kathleen, smile. I know, laughing, right? Cool stuff. That's from your grandson. Cool. We got grandson jokes and jokes from when I was in 6th grade. How are you going to get entertainment like this, folks? Of course, with this brilliant conversation. Ms. Pat in Texas is loving it. You guys are great. All right. My stomach is really, really kicking. So it's time to eat. So again, thanks for joining us on the Jim Masters Show. We brought this back for those of you who loved this in the earlier year of our series, the relax sign. So don't forget to relax, take care of one another, love one another. There you go. And breathe deeply, take care of one another. We talked about some of that with Chris Allport here on the show, Allport. Really, really loved having him here. And relax. Take care of one another. We don't say goodbye. We say see you later. Ciao, cheers, shalom, sayonara, hasta la vista, moilu, come again, shalom, slancha, and all the rest. Your host, Jim Masters here. Thank you for your time this time. Till next time, This is kind of like a telethon. Smiles coming in from Jane, and say goodnight, Jim. Tight, lovely hugs. All right, sent to you as well and to everybody else. And say goodnight, Gracie, from George Burns. We love you all. Take care. Be well, whether you're watching live or you're watching this later. It's always great to have you here. And thanks for watching this episode of the Jim Masters Show. Don't keep it a secret. Tell everybody you know about what we're doing here. Come to Lovely Hall. Come enjoy. The world's crazy. We always have a good time right here at this address, just for you. Comments are still pouring in, gang. Thank you very much, Jane. You as well. And now go take a nap. 3:30 in the morning in Sweden. The comments are still coming in. Boom. Thanks, gang. All right. Got to eat something before it's midnight. We'll see you soon. And if you're watching live, thank you. If you're watching this later in the archives, stay right here. Another episode of the Jim Masters Show comes right up. They're all in order, and they're all archived on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. Catch you later. Thanks for sticking with us. You guys are the best. The quiet folk watching and those who are vocal and chatting. However it is, however you do it, we love you all. See you again soon. We'll be right here. Don't forget, great guests coming up. Incredible lineup. Take a look at our YouTube channel and scroll across and see the guests coming up. And lots of surprises too. Yeah. Larry Matthews, who played Richie on the Dick Van Dyke Show. He was Dick Van Dyke and Mary Tyler Moore's son on the Dick Van Dyke Show. Richie Petrie is joining us. Yes. On December 11th. December 11th. Yes. Isn't that cool? And some other special guests joining us as well, all tied to the Dick Van Dyke Show. But Larry Matthews, who played little Richie on the Dick Van Dyke Show, Richie Petrie, is going to be with us. Looking forward to that. It's going to be fun. First time watching. Thanks for being here. Subscribe to the channel and all the rest. That's why we don't say goodbye around here, because I think if we did say goodbye, we would have left 20 minutes ago. All right. We're going to have to sail off here because I got to eat. And thank you for being with us. We'll see you soon. This is the official wrap up. Cheers. Take care. See you soon. Auf Wiedersehen. Love you all. Take care. Thanks for watching. The Jim Masters Show. Cheers.